language of the white supremacist, and
Well,
it's scary.
here's the thing. He called these teenage takeovers. Are you ready for this? He called them trends. These are just trends. This isn't, this is just something that's going to come, it's popular this week. Maybe something else will be popular next week.
Well, like when you were a kid, it was the hula hoop, and
or the big wheel.
and now
The
it's
green monster.
Yeah, I mean, every generation has the things that kids sort of innovate, and we've got some innovators like that. We're in the South Loop this weekend, and so we just have to let this unfold a little bit. And as I said, enhance the wraparound services the city provides to nurture these young people into the great people that we know they can be.
Well, there are victims. I mean, Mr. Novak, he owns the store. He was complete. I mean, if they didn't take everything from him, if you saw the video inside, they just knocked everything over and trashed his place just for fun.
The teen mobs is something that seriously needs to be taken seriously, and I would love to talk to him about it because I don't think there's nothing being done yet.
Mobs, ouch. Can't really abide that sort of language. And again, I put that on the business owner. What was his security? Did he have the city subsidized cameras up? Did he have secure personnel? Is everything behind plexiglass under lock and key? What is he doing? I think is the real question. The business owner seems to me is the one at fault here.
Well,
do I have that right?
Yeah, we've a big weekend here, Dan. All eyes are on Chicago Lollapalooza.
I know. I hope
tonight.
I hope BLM Brandon stops by. He said he might. I'm super excited to see if he will. It's going to be fun.
God. Guess what, Dan? He's going to be there. We just got a press release saying that he is going to be on stage to welcome Chicagoans because he's a star chaser. I mean, he's just mini Obama. No. He was with Beyonce.
He's
to give him a shout out.
He's the star being chased.
Oh, Dennis Rodman. There's selfies with him.
So, right. Well, I mean, he is our celebrity mayor, just like we had a celebrity mayor with Triple Threat, just like we had a celebrity mayor with Tiny Dancer. I mean, that's what's so fun about Chicago is we have these celebrity mayors, and we have NASCAR races, and we got Lollapalooza.
Oh my God, are you gonna go?
And the festivals, and I mean, it's summer in the city. It's another summer of joy, as far as I can tell.
And he couldn't tell the reporters yesterday whether what the revenue was generated from NASCAR. He said Taylor Swift was good because the hotels were sold out. But here's the plan, because the plan for this 3-day weekend or 4-day weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when a lot of teens are coming, they're trending.
Officers on bikes, making sure that there are consistent checkpoints so that we're able to better manage, where people are flowing, that those particular dynamics are well in place.
I'm convinced I'm going to send Peyton and Eli to Lala.
It sounds like he has command of the situation. Officers will be there to pass out water, provide directions. That's wonderful. Jim and Palatine, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, guys. I don't know what else we're supposed to call them. Should we just call them animals or jackals? I mean, this guy is worried about... No, we can't call them anything, I guess, but this guy's worried about hurting their feelings. They're destroying our city. And I think their parents ought to be held accountable financially and legally.
Thanks for the call, Jim. I'll accept honor students or rising grade schoolers and high schoolers. I will accept those characterizations.
We had a 12-year-old arrested and a 13-year-old, too, because and Fred Waller, he was adamant, last time this happened, we told them, they got on the megaphone and said, "Your violation of curfew, we're going to arrest you," and people dispersed. But this time, they didn't, and they kept fighting right in front of police.
Yeah, well, that's our fault. We as a society have failed them. So I'm not putting it on those kids. I'm putting it on you and me and the village that it takes.
Got a great text message for the leader of the city to make it seem like this behavior will fade out once it becomes unpopular. Shows how out of touch he really is.
Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. That's it. Blame the legal the store owner for.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is he doing? He's the adult here, right?
He's supposed to know better.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not compared to Al Capone. Al Capone did most of his business behind closed doors. I think it was 2021 on HeyJackass.com. There was 840 murders in Chicago, and I think a little over 700 were black-on-black murders. So is that just being silly too?
Well, again, we don't see race here. We don't talk about things that are uncomfortable, so I'm not going to address that. And that to the extent that we do address it, you properly see that through the prism of systemic racism. As your mayor, BLM Brandon, said, the city has history. You know what he's telling you. He's being very gentlemanly about it, but he's talking about systemic racism and the white patriarchy, and that's the real problem here. David in Lansing.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Your sarcasm is being monitored by people like me.
Sarcastic.
Yeah, it was very, very inappropriate for the media to call those children baby Al Capones. A more appropriate term would have been baby Visigoth Vikings or Blitzkrieg bandits. So I'm watching you. You should get your terminology.
Thanks for the call, David.
I mean, you're Dan. You're so spot on.
Visigoths.
Whoever called them baby Capones?
Visigoths. I like that because nobody will know what that means except David Lansing and me and a few others. Yeah, no. I mean, baby.
Well, teach us something. What's a Visigoth?
How about Childish Gambino?
Oh.
I mean, it's been taken, but yeah, talking about various barbarian hordes. He's using coded language as white supremacists will. This was a fun too, and this is more getting into the spirit of it, enjoying the new Jerusalem that these delightful imps have visited upon us. This is a little video that a dude put together shopping at a CVS. And this could be Chicago or any city in America run by Democrats. So think cities more than 250,000 people, and you go to your local pharmacy.
What kind of shampoo should we get? I'm going to just grab like one of these. Some shampoo. Let's get some deodorant. Oh, let's get some body wash. What else do we need? Laundry detergent. Perfect. Laundry detergent. Air freshener. Let's get some shaving cream, razors, stuff like that. What kind of toothpaste did you want? I like Excuse me. Could I get some help unlocking the travel size Q-tips?
Everything he goes to grab is behind plexiglass, so he can't open it, and he just goes from one. It's a little bit more theater of the mind here, but yeah, it was fun. Yeah, the Q-tips are behind lock and key too. All right, well, it's good. Oh, by the way, too,
yes,
everything's on schedule with the migrants. BLM Brandon wants you to know, so that's all taken care of. You don't have to worry about that either.
Yeah, well, there was a little scuttlebutt that they left the first district, because of Lollapalooza. That's not it, Dan.
Well, I hope they got backstage passes.
Well, they probably did.
My position has not changed, that transitioning individuals out of police stations is still top of mind. Finding more adequate places for shelter for families, that is top of mind. Having full wraparound services for families who wish to call the city of Chicago their home, that is still top of mind.
He's got it. Coming up at 5:38, Devin Archer sits down with Tucker. So we'll hear directly from baby boy Hunter's business partner, 5:38.
And later hear from one of Lizzo's dance partners who's suing her, who was fat shamed by Lizzo. But now it's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
70 degrees at 5:33. Former President Donald Trump due to be arraigned later this afternoon in the nation's capital on 4 counts related to his alleged efforts to overturn results of the 2020 election through special counsel Jack Smith's office. The State Department is ordering non-emergency U.S. government employees and eligible family members to evacuate from the West African nation of Niger after last week's military takeover. The man convicted of killing 11 Jews at a Pittsburgh synagogue has been sentenced to death. Family member of a victim, Leah Stein, says everyone seems to be at peace.
Finally, justice has been served. And even though nothing will bring my dad back, I feel like a weight has been lifted and I can breathe a sigh of relief.
Federal jury reached the unanimous decision Wednesday. Robert Bowers was convicted in June on more than 60 charges. Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is agreeing to debate Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom. An aide to Governor Newsom says his office sent a formal request to Fox News last week with a proposal to debate DeSantis sometime in early November. San Diego police shot and killed a gunman who fatally wounded a police dog. A serious confrontation Wednesday at a community college campus that's still being investigated. The former mayor of College Park, Maryland, pled guilty yesterday to 140 counts of child pornography. It's part of an agreement that will have the gay progressive Democrat, Patrick Wojcik, spend 30 years in prison. Louisiana authorities say a man who allegedly attacked a flight attendant on board a Delta Airlines flight was subdued by passengers on board as that flight from Atlanta was landing in New Orleans Wednesday afternoon. An Oregon man is in custody after a woman claimed he kidnapped her and held her in a cinder block cell in his garage. Stephanie Shark is with Portland FBI.
The disturbing evidence uncovered to date points to an individual's ongoing and escalating pattern of violence targeting women.
On Wednesday, the FBI announced they've arrested the suspect, Nagazi Zuberi, after a standoff in a parking lot. Here in Chicago, a woman is dead and her 2-year-old son, as well as 2 others, are wounded following a shooting on Chicago's South Side. Father Michael Flager stepped out last night to say someone needs to come forward.
When you aim at a mother and a 2-year-old child and a man sitting there, you have no conscience. You're a coward.
The woman died at a nearby hospital. Other 3 victims this morning are hospitalized in good condition. Thousands of Illinois residents are without Medicaid health insurance beginning this month after a post-COVID reset. The Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services says more than 47,000 Illinois residents have been taken off Medicaid since the beginning of August. Cubs over the Reds 16-6. They could lose Marcus Stroman for a couple of weeks with a hip injury, treated with a cortisone shot. Sox beaten by the Rangers. Closer Liam Hendriks done for the rest of this season, likely all of next season, with Tommy John's surgery to repair a torn ulnar collateral ligament in the right elbow. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Starting August 22nd, the U.S. dollar may have new competition from a new global supercurrency backed by Russia and China. And if the dollar plummets, your retirement could follow. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I recommend a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. I encourage you to act. Before August 22nd, text SHELTER to 989898 to get your free information kit on gold now.
Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. There aren't many people who would knowingly leave their job to start another job for a 30% cut in pay. And yet, people do it every day when they enter retirement. Why enter the exciting new chapter of your life with less money? Why trade the stress of work for more stress in retirement? Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help. Just call Tom at 630-934-1855. for your complimentary, customized retirement. It addresses many of the big questions you may have, like what to do about Social Security, managing your investments, and how to create income you can never outlive. You can downsize your house, but don't downsize your lifestyle. Get a complimentary, customized retirement plan at 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. That's alphawealthgroup.com.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, RWA, an SEC registered investment advisor. RWA and Alpha Wealth Group are independent of each other. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
5:39, quick update on the roads. In our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, Edens is fine. Kennedy at 23, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Northbound 55, accident, Grundy County. Couple of cars in the ditch approaching Reed Road on the northbound side of 55. We're already seeing delays on the Bishop Ford and I-57 jamming into the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A humid day ahead, sunshine and patchy clouds. High of 89, partly cloudy, humid, 71 overnight. 70 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Tucker Carlson slotted just behind the House Oversight Committee when it comes to talking to Devon Archer and the Delaware grand jury, I suppose. Tucker Carlson got this sit-down with Devon Archer, and he just released part one of the interview yesterday. It was really interesting because obviously this is something done of his own volition. Tucker Carlson doesn't have subpoena power. And if you watch the back and forth between them, I mean, Devon Archer was perfectly comfortable. He wasn't doing this out of a sense of obligation. No. He enjoyed it. It's very interesting because it sort of speaks to a question that has not been asked, at least was not asked in the first part that I'm interested in, which is, what's the nature of your relationship with Biden Incorporated today?
Right. When's the last time you spoke to Hunter? And how's your relationship with Christopher Hines, John Kerry's stepson? Why didn't he get a love letter from Hunter?
It seems to me that, I mean, I'm just reading between the lines here. Devon Archer was a business guy, was somebody who actually had a finance background, and he saw this market opportunity. He and his other associates saw this market opportunity with Hunter and this consultancy that they stood up for doors to open to new sources of investment as well as influence because of the big guy. But maybe they weren't quite as good of friends as Hunter made out in his various love messages to Devon Archer we read yesterday. So anyway, I mean, he sort of starts with some very tongue-in-cheek questions that they both had a good laugh over, which was sort of interesting. But for Hunter's dad, does Hunter exist in your world?
As far as I could tell, he wasn't doing legal work. I mean, he wasn't in the counsel's office at Burisma, right?
No.
So the network and the Biden brand sounds like the kind of key component of
absolutely
what he was bringing.
Yep.
Do you think that he would have been in those businesses, not having a business background, without his father being in a government position?
It's hard to speculate in those regards. I mean, I think when we initially met and he talked about his advisory business, his business that needed to transition from lobbying to advisory and the interest in private equity, it seemed it seemed like a new and interesting network for us to expand our business. Whether he could have, been in that position, it's hard for me to speculate.
Right.
But obviously, the brand of Biden, adds a lot of power when your dad's the vice president.
Mm-hmm. Let's delve a little deeper into just exactly what it is Hunter Biden did or has the capacity to do.
The initial idea around the business, they were going to provide, the government insight and an additional network to raise capital and then, deal with regulatory issues that you might have at the corporate level.
Right. Regulatory issues.
Exactly.
Okay, so that would be more his area.
Right, that would be his space.
Right. But did he have a sophisticated understanding of regulation, do you think?
I think that he led a team that had a sophisticated.
Oh, that laugh.
Because I lived in Washington a long time, around a lot of regulation. Also, a very complex area.
Absolutely. I think you got to be an expert in knowing the guy, and he was the guy that was the expert in knowing the guy.
He was an expert in knowing the guy.
Right.
And who was the guy he knew?
Well, he knew a lot of people, but obviously there was some familiar, his brother, his father, some of his father's siblings. So he knew a lot of people.
We actually have exclusive audio of the interview Hunter Biden gave to Rosemont Seneca, this private equity venture that Devon Archer was behind, sort of laying out what he does.
All right, I want to hear it.
What would you say you do here? Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
And the Bobs and Devon Archer seemed persuaded by that, so they brought him on at Rosemont Seneca. I love it. He directed a team. He knows the guy who knows the guy who knows the guy that can get that thing done. And his expertise in regulation, I've been around regulation. I've always enjoyed regulation. It's something I have an interest in.
I lived in D.C. I've had a front row seat to regulation. Regulation's fun.
Oh, that's why. It's really a fun interview because the whole thing is so ridiculous that if you're an adult with firing synapses, the whole line of bull jive you're getting from Biden Incorporated and their comm shop, the D.C. Press Corps, is actually sort of funny. How about the big guy's call-ins?
Oh, yeah.
And then when he had him on speakerphone, when, of course, as Representative Dan Goldman told us, look, what's he supposed to do? Not say hi to baby boy Hunter's friends? He's just being courteous. Of course.
Over a 10-year partnership, I would, the number I'm going with is 20. That's probably the amount that I kind of recall. Yeah, a lot, you could say.
So Joe Biden, who's very much a product of Washington, of course, must have known that he was calling in to effectively a business meeting that his son was having. He must have understood that was kind of what his son was selling.
Well, that's hard for me to speculate on that.
But I guess my question, just to keep it to the facts, Joe Biden, then the sitting vice president, knew that there were Hunter's business associates in the room.
Yeah, I think I could definitively say at particular dinners or meetings, he knew there were business associates, and or if I was there, I was a business associate too.
Yeah.
So I think, or if, any of the other colleagues from the DC office or the New York office were there. So yeah, at times there were. From the, to be, completely clear on the calls, I don't know if it was an orchestrated call in or not. It certainly was powerful though, because, if you're sitting with a foreign business person and you hear the vice president's voice, that's prize enough. That's pretty impactful stuff for anyone.
It's pretty impactful stuff, right? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Maybe you can answer the same question that Hunter posed to Devon Archer, following up on the speakerphone calls from the big guy.
It's been reported, and I know that it is true, that Hunter and his brother were very close to their dad.
Absolutely.
Which I think is great.
Yep.
I've got a lot of kids. I'm very close to them, talk to them every day.
Yeah.
Never called them on speaker during a business meeting. That's weird.
That is weird.
You've got a lot of kids. You're close to them. Do you call them on speaker during business meetings?
Do I call?
I mean, what is that? A grown man calling his dad on a speakerphone during a business meeting?
Right, and to be clear, sometimes it was the call was coming in and the speaker would go on. So it's just the president. You have to be, I mean, you understand DC, right? So the power to have that access and that conversation, and it's not in a scheduled conference call, and it's a part of your family. That's like the pinnacle of power in DC.
100%. I guess I'm pivoting against the lie that I'm hearing people tell with a straight face. Congressman Goldman, for example, that we don't really know what was going on. Really? You're taking a call from the vice president and you put it on speaker. It's not just, hey, Dad, I'm in a meeting with some buddies.
Right.
It's let me put my dad, the vice president, on speaker.
Yeah.
Daddy?
Yep. In the rear view, it's an abuse of soft power, I'd say.
An abuse of soft power.
Mm. That's a fun phrase. Abuse of soft power. Yeah. Do you do that? You put your dad on a speakerphone if he calls in to a business meeting. Hey, Dad, say hello to my buddies.
You call your dad and ask him to help out?
The super chairman of the Chinese Communist Party and so on and so forth. Now, there is this, it was interesting in his reaction on a serious note, somewhat serious, as serious as you can take all of this. I mean, it's a serious issue, but the story that we're being fed is so unserious, it's difficult not to cackle like Tucker. But this letter that was reported in the New York Post as well, that Biden sent to Devon Archer back in 2011. Tucker asked him about it specifically, and he read it to him for the purposes of the viewers. A letter from Joe Biden to Devon Archer in 2011. And remember, this is a guy who never spoke with Hunter about business, who has never had business relations with those men.
Mm-mm.
Uh-huh. Well, that's hard to square with this.
Devon Archer, Rosemont Seneca Partners, that was your partnership with Hunter Biden in Georgetown. Dear Devon, I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to you at the luncheon yesterday. I was having trouble getting away from hosting President Hu Jintao, who was running China at that point. I hope I get a chance to see you again soon with Hunter. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Thanks for coming. Sincerely, Joseph R. Biden Jr. P.S. Handwritten, happy you guys are together. So there are many levels here. But here's the Vice President of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was.
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little weird, though, right?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of the beginning of our partnership, and he was thanking me and thanking Hunter, I think, at the end of the day, for bringing this idea of this government regulatory strategic advisory business into the private equity world, and I think he was excited about the prospects for Hunter, and he was just thanking me. I think it was a nice gesture.
It was a very nice gesture. And just remember, despite everything you just heard, he has no idea what Hunter Biden was doing, and he never did anything wrong, and he's the smartest man that Joe Biden knows. Okay. Got that all straight?
Yeah, I got it. 312-642-5600. You can also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Joe, Hoffman Estates.
Hey, Dan, good morning. I agree with you 99% of the time, but I believe that Amy was 100% correct on this one as far as this Archer guy's not going to turn on the Bidens, I believe, because he actually probably fears for his life. I believe Amy was 100% correct.
Well, she said he was going to be knocked off on his way to the hearing, so she obviously was not 100% correct, but thanks for the call, Joe.
He has to report to prison for, a year and 10 days?
Yeah, right. They're going to get him in the yard. Right.
Well, they could Epstein him. Who knows?
I don't think so. And by the way, you don't consider this turning on the Bidens?
I consider this turning on the Bidens.
You think him doing this interview with Tucker Carlson is helpful to the Bidens? So he obviously is not in fear for his life. He chose to sit down with Tucker Carlson, and they're laughing about the ridiculous cover stories, cover lies that are being told by Biden and his surrogates. That's helpful? That's not turning on them? I don't think, my sense is he doesn't have any use for them anymore. And frankly, he made a couple of references to Icarus in his conversation with Tucker Carlson, that both Hunter and he flew a little too close to the sun, and they both got burned. And obviously, he's lost a lot of money. He's about to lose his freedom for a year and a day or some fraction of that. And I think this was, as I said at the outset, he saw an opportunity because of the influence if you brought Hunter Biden into the fold, and he took it, and the scrutiny and the recklessness of his business partner, Hunter Biden, turned out to be fatal. That's what I think. Frank in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. I wonder if a lot of this stuff with Hunter Biden is really all about him having bought one of those jump to conclusions mats that the guy in Office Space made.
Yeah.
And I say that, too, if you actually look at the jump to conclusions mat, two of the different choices on there is, number one, go wild. I think that would explain a lot of Hunter's behavior. And then another one is accept it. So who knows if that really explains the logic behind why Hunter did.
Interesting. Yeah, right. Life imitating blow art. Frank, thanks for that.
Great text message. Like the Seinfeld episode when Jerry saw his Uncle Leo shoplifting, you still got to say hello. Remember that one? You got to say hi. I don't care you're shoplifting.
You have to be courteous. He's your uncle. Say hello.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I'm Seth Leibson of 960 AM The Patriot in Phoenix for townhall.com. Movies in summer, they used to be big splashes. Take just the summer of 1989 as a random example. We got Batman, Dead Poets Society, Do the Right Thing, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Lethal Weapon 2, License to Kill, Parenthood, Weekend at Bernie's, When Harry Met Sally, and more. As we look back in history, almost any given year was similarly amazing. But the biggest movie this year? Barbie. Hollywood has come a long way, but the wrong way. Here's what Hollywood used to be able to do in 1 year. Let's take 1962. You got Lawrence of Arabia, you got The Longest Day, The Music Man, The Miracle Worker, Days of Wine and Roses, To Kill a Mockingbird, Escape from Alcatraz, Long Day's Journey into Night. That's just 1 year, all remembered and still watched and spoken about today, 60 years on. Now, quick, name me one movie from last year. Hollywood has fallen, and so too, sadly, our culture. I'm Seth Leibson.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
If we've learned anything from recent news, it's that unexpected things are happening. Your gut tells you there's something very wrong going on, and all the evidence suggests that there is. Government emails are hacked. There's talk of how to fight World War III, and trade of grains and food are being disrupted. Those in charge say everything's fine. Stop noticing, but you know better. It's time to invest in self-reliance and emergency food storage now, more than ever. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, is the place you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunch, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save 25%, plus get free shipping on all their 3-month emergency food kits. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. It's time to prepare for what's coming. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
If your money is not earning at least 5.25% tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. They're offering a 5.25% APY on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth Roth IRA accounts. Rate subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred, no-fee annuity. Earn 5.25% APY on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA. Pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, did you hear that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife is separated after 18 years?
Oh, no.
Yeah, they're asking for privacy for their children who are 15, 14, and 9 during this difficult time. They're
Who's
still
their
going to
father?
co-parent. What? He's the father. So, yeah, that's...
I thought he was smooth down there.
Yeah. Okay. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The barricades are up in D.C. It must be another Trump arraignment, and it is. We'll have that at 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
A woman killed, a 2-year-old son, and 2 others wounded in a Southside shooting. Mayor Johnson weighs in on the Southside teen mob action. The FBI is looking for help in tracking down the bundled bandits. It's another win for the Cubs. WIND Chicago News Time.
4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's when former President Trump will be arraigned in his 3rd indictment. This one related to the Capitol riot and attempts to overturn the 2020 election.
Trump faces 4 charges in this indictment. 3 are on conspiracy, 1 for obstruction.
Fox's Griff Jenkins outside the Washington court the former president does not want to be tried in.
He took to Truth Social, posting the latest fake case brought by crooked Joe Biden and deranged Jack Smith will hopefully be moved to an impartial venue, such as the politically unbiased nearby state of West Virginia. Impossible to get a fair trial in Washington, D.C.
He also calls the indictment selection interference. His son Eric Trump tells Fox.
They want to take him out of the race, and we've seen this before. We've seen the FBI be weaponized. We've seen the DOJ be weaponized. We've seen the dirty games.
Some Trump rivals in the Republican presidential race agree, but as Fox's Jessica Rosenthal reports, one has a different take.
Former Vice President Mike Pence reacted to the indictment of former President Trump, telling Fox's Martha McCallum he's not sure if the former president listening to bad attorney advice is a crime, but he did say Trump's crackpot attorneys, as he put it, wanted him to reject votes on January 6th.
Which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued.
Someone went on the attack with a knife in South Korea, stabbing and wounding 13 people near the capital, Seoul. Now an update on the American soldier who fled to North Korea to avoid U.S. military discipline.
Travis King hasn't been seen since he dashed across the border into North Korea on July 18th. UN Command, the U.S.-led mission in the region, says North Korea has now confirmed it has him. Details are scant, but the reply raises hopes North Korea could be ready to negotiate.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The day after a jury in Pittsburgh recommended Robert Bowers be executed for massacring 11 Jewish worshippers 5 years ago, a federal judge expected to formalize the sentence. America's listening to Fox News.
70 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A woman dead, a 2-year-old son, as well as 2 others wounded. All follows a shooting on Chicago's South Side. Last night, Father Michael Flager said someone needs to come forward in the community.
Had a mother and a 2-year-old child, and a man sitting there. You have no conscience. You're a coward.
Police say the woman, her son, the boy's father, and another man were on the sidewalk in the 1200 block of West 81st when multiple people jumped out of a car and opened fire. No arrests have been made. Illinois is making full-day kindergarten mandatory in the state, but not until the 2027-28 school year. Under Governor Pritzker's program, every district must also establish a half-day program that is developmentally appropriate. The FBI is offering a $20,000 reward connected to several armed robberies at BMO Harris Bank branches in the west and southern suburbs. Siobhan Johnson is a special agent with the FBI.
Every time we have an additional bank robbery, it makes it that much easier to say that these are likely linked.
According to the FBI, the reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the bundled bandits. Mayor Brandon Johnson has a new strategy, he believes, for teen takeovers of the city of Chicago. 40 were arrested, most of them teens and most of them charged with misdemeanors after they trashed property, threw bottles, jumped on cars, and mobbed a 7-Eleven. But when discussing the mob gathering this past weekend in the South Loop, the mayor didn't like so-called media descriptions of the mob action.
We have to be very careful when we use language to describe certain behavior. There's history in this city. I mean, to refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate.
The mayor also faces tough criticism for not attending any National Night Out events. Those are meant to help build relationships between law enforcement and city residents. Cubs overcome an early 3-run deficit to rout the Reds 16-6 at Wrigley Field. Jameer Candelario had his second straight 4-hit game. Ian Happ, a pair of home runs. Cubs just 3 out of first place. They'll be without one of their top-end starters for the next couple of weeks, Marcus Stroman on the 15-day DL. Meantime, the White Sox will be without their closer for the remainder of this season and likely all of next, after Liam Hendriks underwent Tommy John's surgery on Wednesday. The news service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday mornings at 6:30 on AM 560, The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains the heart of the nation.
The heart of America is in a small town. The heart of America is in the flyover states. That's what America is all about. Men and women busting their tail to keep this country going. Who do you think is making your food? They're the ones that keep the country moving. They're the ones that make the world go round, in my opinion.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Don't let earache from swimmer's ear, clogged ears, or allergies ruin your day. Get fast, effective relief from the pain and itching with Hyland's Earache Drops, the #1 best-selling earache treatment for over 10 years. See why it's received thousands of 5-star reviews and was awarded Best Over-the-Counter Medicine and Health Product in Earache Relief by U.S. News and World Report. Find Hyland's Earache Drops in the eye and ear aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes. Heroes like Marine Corps Corporal Seth Rasmussen, who lost his life in an Osprey aircraft crash. Tunnel to Towers immediately stepped in to provide his wife and infant son with a mortgage-free home. Help the families of heroes like Seth get through the worst times in their lives. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a very, very skeptical person, so I think even if it had started working sooner, I was like, no, it can't be just Balance of Nature. Till I finally gave in and said, you know what? I think it's the Balance of Nature. So somebody will say, oh, I noticed this, or you look really good today, or you such and such, and I go, I know, it's the Balance of Nature. I have fingernails that I've never had before. They're long and they're strong and they're wow.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. This week only, we're extending our special travel offer. Right now, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and we're watching the inbound Edens begin to build between Foster and Montrose, 16 and Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound at a full half hour. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now is at 33 from 390 into the old post office. I-80 Will County stop-and-go traffic westbound between I-55 and Shepley Road. Accident reported in Morton Grove this morning, Oakton, and Grosse Pointe. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Sunshine, patchy clouds, a humid day. High today 89, partly cloudy tonight, low 71. Partly sunny, terrific day tomorrow, the high 85. Clouds and sun, thunderstorm and spots on Saturday, the high 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
At 6:08, it's time to visit signaturebank.bank and time to update those temperatures. Now 68 at O'Hare. We're watching Lansing clear in 62, Aurora fog developing, and 63. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You know, I scoffed at the idea, we talked about it for the last couple of days, that after Trump was indicted, or actually before he was indicted and then after he was indicted, the prospect that at his arraignment today, he could be held in pretrial detention.
Yeah.
I scoffed at that, but then I listened to noted presidential historian Michael Beschloss. And I now have a new understanding of the threat to the public that Trump presents. And I think he should be held in pretrial detention and also not given access to Truth Social while in pretrial detention. Here's Michael Beschloss on Where Else, Morning Joe, putting the Trump indictment in its proper historical context. See if you agree.
I think the last 12 hours fit perfectly into the American story, and that is this. From time to time, America faces threats from monsters who want to destroy our democracy. That happened in 1861 with the Confederacy. Abraham Lincoln and, Northern soldiers and Northern voters came to our rescue, saved the Union. The same thing happened in 1933, almost at the last minute. Franklin Roosevelt came to power, saved our economic system. Pearl Harbor, 1941. We were bombed. Our system was very much in danger. Our democracy, many people were giving it up and saying that, the democracy had seen its last days. Franklin Roosevelt helped to put a coalition together at the last minute to save democracy and freedom around the world. 9/11, 2001, Osama bin Laden and other terrorists hated our democracy, tried to destroy it. You see where I'm going. What we see in this indictment is that on January 6, 2021, Donald Trump, just like those other threats to American democracy, tried to destroy our system, to take away our rule of law, came very close to doing it, to take away our system of elections, to take away our tradition of peaceful transfer of power to a new elected president. It almost happened. And the thing is, Joe and Mika and Willie and everyone, it's almost happening again this morning. Just as you said, right. Who is the Republican frontrunner? Donald Trump, threatening to do it all again, but even more effectively, saying he's going to institute a presidential dictatorship that we may assume is going to take our democracy away. And this indictment, and I'll close with this, is coming at almost the last minute. I think if it had been 2 or 3 months later, we'd be a lot less optimistic about the chance that a trial can take place before next year's election.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Do you now agree with me and Michael Beschloss that Trump should be held in pretrial detention. Do you understand the threat he poses to America? I mean, Beschloss is not. Let's be clear. Let's be and fair. Okay, Beschloss is not saying that he is a greater threat to America than, say, the Confederacy or Osama bin Laden. He's just saying he's a threat on par. He's not ranking them. He's just saying
they're at the same level.
Pearl Harbor, the Confederacy, Osama bin Laden, Donald Trump. They belong in the same sentence. That's all he's saying. Okay?
Okay.
So, pretrial detention. You know, if I was Donald Trump, after hearing Michael Beschloss, I would have my lawyers wheel me into the courtroom in the Hannibal Lecter setup.
Because he's such a threat to our democracy.
I would actually. You might as well ridicule the judge and the U.S. attorney as well, or the special counsel. Same difference. The DOJ as well. I mean, the idea that they're going to get some sort of fair trial is
a joke.
Right. So
but
so why not? Why not at this point?
DC looks. You know, there's barricades up everywhere. What he's going to do is you're going to see him come. His motorcade's going to come in, and then he's going to go in and out through the basement, and that's that. But what if they do keep him there?
We just heard about the threat he poses. Of course, the barricades are up. The National Guard should be scrambled. Our entire armed services should be at the ready. You're talking about a man who is attempted to and is right now. There's no evidence to support what Michael Beschloss said, but that doesn't matter. He is right now. Michael Beschloss said it. He's a presidential historian. He's on MSNBC. That's good enough for me. It's good enough for half the country. He is trying to institute a presidential dictatorship. I don't know where he made that announcement, but Michael Beschloss does. And who are we to question Michael Beschloss?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment.
If that's not enough truth for you, that's not enough uncut truth for you from Michael Beschloss, presidential historian. I got more. MSNBC's got a full lineup of them. Paul Butler is allegedly a former prosecutor. He noted something else about this, the poetic justice of it all. There's the justice to put Osama bin Laden, Trump behind bars. That's justice. And then there's the poetic justice of who's going to do it.
I'm thinking about two kinds of justice, poetic and legal. So the poetic justice is that presiding over Trump's trial will be a black woman immigrant. Trump doesn't like getting challenged by anybody, but he especially hates feeling challenged by black women. His targets have included our colleagues, Joy Reid and Kristen Walker. And plus, Chutkan is a immigrant from Jamaica, and remember Trump's disgusting words about Caribbean nations. The legal justice, though, Yasmin, is that none of that will matter to Judge Chutkan. She's a former public defender. She will give Trump all of the fairness and process that he is due. She'll let the jury decide the case, and if it returns a verdict of not guilty, she'll be fine with saying those words that defendants love to hear. Mr. Trump, you are free to go. But if he's convicted, based on her sentencing in other January 6 cases, Judge Chutkan is likely to send the former president to prison for a very long time.
I mean, where to start?
But you can believe the process, because Paul Butler obviously believes in the process, and he believes in Lady Justice and that she's blind, clearly, although that doesn't mean we shouldn't recognize the identitarian characteristics of the judge and her native country and so on and so forth. No, I look, there you go. So now you got Michael Beschloss explaining to you the threat that Trump poses, and you've got a former prosecutor detailing how this would strike a blow for social justice in addition to actual justice. Not that he would distinguish between the two, but I mean, that's a nice twofer, isn't it?
Yeah, but if he's not an alleged attorney, he should get his facts straight. President Trump never made any disparaging remarks against Jamaica. It was Haiti. And a lot of us have been to Haiti. It is the dirtiest place on this planet.
Yeah. He doesn't like black women because he sparred with, or he's denigrated, people that like spend their entire careers denigrating him on TV. So that's big, and he's really limited it to Joy Reid or whoever else Paul Butler mentioned. But it doesn't. None of that matters. Keep your eye on the big picture. The big picture: social justice, save our democracy. Huh? Yeah. Now you signed up? Pretrial detention for that gentleman. Neil in LaGrange, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. One of the things that they're not really focusing on is, I've read it in a couple spots, is that, Jack Smith, so many of his convictions have been overturned. And I don't know what the number is, but he said his attitude is more of let's win and not care about the truth. So I think, somebody needs to start zeroing in on that. And Amy, I got to thank you again for all the money you're saving me for sending my kid to college with all the stuff from My Pillow. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the call. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jack Smith.
Yeah.
That he took a lot of high-profile cases and really didn't care about what how he affected those lives. And then quietly they're overturned. So,
yeah, as the McDonald conviction in Virginia, a good example. Thanks for the call, Neil. Jane in Rockford.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I am just outraged. I tell you, November 2024 can't come soon enough, although I don't trust one single vote or election outcome with the history that we've seen. But this guy is outrageous. The only people trying to overturn elections are the Democrats. How many states did they change election laws illegally and whatnot? So to say that President Trump was trying to overturn our electoral system is just poppycock. And I'm telling you, 2024 can't come soon enough. Love your show. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Jane.
He's facing his third arrest in 4 months. To me, that's election interference.
Jane,
and the DOJ is abusing their power, obviously, by indicting him. And they're just doing it as a distraction to take away from the Republicans' investigation of the Biden family business.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to pause here. Please get me Jane from Rockford's number. We're going to have to forward that to Jack Smith. She just announced she's a co-conspirator in an attempt to steal our democracy from us because she challenged the propriety of the elections. And she accused Democrats. She's projecting, and that, I think, is a federal crime, according to Jack Smith. So remember, you can be charged as a conspirator after the fact here. So be careful what you say. I'm sure.
Well, I want to get
Jack
something
Smith's
off.
monitoring the airwaves.
I want to get something off my chest because you know how I'm all about timing. So real quick, March 17th, Hunter Biden accidentally admitted that his laptop is his. The next day, Trump gets a notice that he'll be indicted. June 8th, the FBI did that document dump. Remember that said Biden took $5 million in bribe money. And then next day, June 9th, Mar-a-Lago indictment. July 31st, Devin Archer tells members of Congress that Biden was in on 20-plus phone calls. The next day, Trump indicted for January 6th.
Orlando, North Side.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to comment on that Trump not liking black women.
Yeah.
His personal secretary, wasn't she a black woman for like 30 years, 30-plus years? And
Yeah, Lynn.
won't even let her speak.
Lynn Patton, right? Yeah.
Yes. I just wanted to throw that out there because, this woman, she knew everything about the Trump family, and she defends him. So I don't know what this attorney is talking about.
Well, she's a white supremacist, Orlando. That's why. Tony in Riverside.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, are you a lawyer?
I have a law degree. I don't practice. I'm like Hunter Biden.
Well, we need to start getting lawyers to file class action suits against our government for the duress Americans are suffering. Real Americans that know the Constitution, that know the Declaration of Independence. Let's step it up.
Thanks for the call, Tony.
Yeah, Dan, do your part.
I'd call our trial lawyer friends, but they're busy with all those Northwestern former student athletes.
Oh, too soon.
Robert, Bloomingdale.
Hello?
Hey, Robert, you're on.
Good morning. Isn't it a conspiracy of those former intelligence agents signing a letter saying that that laptop was Russian disinformation, while the FBI and their security clearance, because most of these guys have security clearance still, they absolutely knew that laptop was real. So this was a conspiracy when they said that this was Russian disinformation, trying to lie to the American people.
Thanks for the call, Robert. Well,
that's right.
and it not just the signatories, but it involved apparently now Secretary of State Tony Blinken and former acting CIA Director Mike Morrell as well. Yeah, you might think under Jack Smith's interpretation of some of the charges he has leveled against Trump, like deprivation of the right to vote and have your vote counted, that you could charge those individuals similarly. But it's not a conspiracy when there's a good faith mistake that's made by the vanguards of our democracy, you see. And that's what the signatories on that Hunter Biden laptop letter are. That's what Anthony Blinken is. He's our Secretary of State, don't you know? That's what Mike Morrell is. He's an Obama administration veteran, don't you know? I mean, those are the good guys. They're wearing the white hats. So the same standards don't really apply to them, you see. Greg and Schaumburg.
Dan, if you do put a law firm together, just remember that Hayek gets first position on the nameplate.
There you go. Hayek,
Hey,
Croft, and
Hayek, Croft and Associates.
yes.
Well, he
Maybe Hayek, Croft. You know what I'll do? In the interest of trying to bring the country together, Hayek, and I'll even put him ahead, Biden and Proft, and I'll pay the $75 for Hunter Biden to get his law license reinstated, reactivated in Connecticut. Isn't that nice of me?
Right.
And then I can
Real
be on
quick.
speakerphone with the big guy.
Real quick, one of the best phrases that I took out of my high school education was from a senior year philosophy and theology course, and it's the phrase "stoned to death with popcorn." And that's, as we were reviewing all of the philosophers over time, the teachers that were running this course would say, he's stoned to death with popcorn, and dismiss him. And every time I hear Beschloss speak, that's the way in which my mental processes go. As he was clicking off the dates, I thought, okay, now he's going to say this one, now he's going to say this one, so the obvious ones. And I'll bet if Ramaswamy were to have answered that question, he would have gone back to people like John Locke, Smith, people of those that brought root gravitas of ideas to the table. So that's my first point. And then the second thing is right before the news, you had a news clip of Mike Pence talking about the fact that if, quote, he would have dismissed the electors that were presented on that day according to the Constitution. In other words, people on a state level investigated the process and came up with a constitutionally ordained way of objecting. And Mike Pence dishes it off, well, if I would have accepted them or even let them be evaluated, all chaos would have broken loose. That is such a lightweight analysis of what his position was. In my view, the Constitution founders put him, a reasonable person, in the place of looking at a process where process can be good, bad process, and put him in the place to make the decision, not to make the decision about those votes, but to put it in the House of Representatives where it would be the function of the people.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Just on Beschloss, since you brought it back, and I'm glad you did. Don't forget, Michael Beschloss, noted presidential historian, he was the Chicago's Morning Answer winner of the 2023 Most Idiotic Quote of the Year. Don't you remember this classic from Beschloss?
A historian 50 years from now, if historians are allowed to write in this country, and if there are still free publishing houses and a free press, which I'm not certain of, but if that is true, a historian will say what was at stake tonight and this week was the fact whether we will be a democracy in the future, whether our children will be arrested and conceivably killed. We're on the edge of a brutal authoritarian system, and it could be a week away.
That was a week before the midterm elections in which Trump, bin Laden, was not on the ballot. So if McConnell had become Mitch McConnell, if he had become Senate Majority Leader, and Kevin McCarthy Speaker, which of course
would be rounded
happened.
up and killed.
Yeah, that would be happening right now. We would have an authoritarian regime, even with Biden in charge somehow in Michael Beschloss's world. You know, he's really quite an idiot. It turns out, Michael Beschloss, noted presidential historian.
He needs to retire.
Steve in Arlington Heights.
How you doing? I'm a little concerned with how much the DOJ and the players in this have like doubled, tripled down. I actually fear for Trump's well-being. I mean, there's no way they can let Trump into office and still plan to have a life after the election.
Oh, there's a...
Thanks for the call, Steve. Well, you know, there's always this possibility. Our friend Joel Pollack discussing it. Trump's in jail. He wins the election. The Chief Justice goes to prison, administers the oath of office. Trump pardons himself and leaves. But that would be such an anticlimactic jailbreak. I want action. I want, something, fugitive style.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's possible. I mean, it's if just in case
He's
you
tied
thought,
with...
just in
I'm
case,
sorry.
just in case you thought this couldn't get weirder, there are some, fever dream scenarios like that are actually, becoming more and more possible. The odds are shrinking and shrinking with each passing day.
And according to what the New York Times, Biden and Trump are dead heat at 43 each.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Attention, your money is now controlled by the U.S. government.
Picture a world where your every purchase is monitored, tracked, and controlled by those in power to suppress the freedoms of those they see fit. My name is Jason Hansen. I become very focused on the impending rollout of the central bank digital currency. I've partnered with Advantage Gold to offer you a solution. Claim your free gold protection kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Rest easy knowing your savings are secure and earning you more with a Wintrust MaxSafe account. With MaxSafe, you get up to 15 times the standard FDIC personal protection. That's right, 15 times the protection with the ability to secure up to $3.75 million per account holder. Now that's banking as it should be. Call 833-MaxSafe to talk with a local Wintrust banker today. That's 833-MaxSafe. Peace of mind is just a phone call away. Banking products provided by Wintrust Financial Corp Banks. Member FDIC. See FDIC.gov for deposit insurance coverage rules.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A young man arrested in Watertown, Wisconsin for reading Bible verses aloud at 6:36.
And later, meet Dr. Fauci's replacement. Oh, you're going to love her. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
6:32, 70 degrees, and there may be some heavy traffic in Washington, D.C. this afternoon. Former President Donald Trump is set to make a court appearance.
The Secret Service released a statement and federal officers to ensure the highest levels of safety and security while minimizing disruptions to the normal court process. Trump is scheduled to appear at the courthouse at 4 p.m. Eastern. This week, Trump was indicted for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The man convicted of killing 11 at a Pittsburgh synagogue has been sentenced to death. Family member of a victim, Diane Rosenthal, says the verdict will not heal the loss. but her family is grateful.
We are overwhelmingly grateful for the verdict shared today, but unfortunately, neither verdict would have brought the boys back. The Rosenthal family would like to thank the jury for their thoughtful and careful deliberation.
Robert Bowers was convicted in June on more than 60 charges in the 2018 shooting. The makers of weight loss drugs Ozempic and Mounjaro are being sued for failing to warn patients about the risk of severe gastrointestinal problems. A Louisiana woman filed the suit against Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly. Voters in Tennessee will decide in a special election today whether to keep state representatives Justin Pearson and Justin Jones in office. The Republican-dominated State House expelled the two Democrats in April after they led a riot on the House floor in favor of stronger gun laws following a shooting that killed 6 at a church and Christian school. A woman is dead. Her 2-year-old son, as well as 2 others, are wounded following a shooting on the South Side. Catholic priest Father Michael Flager says someone needs to come forward to help find the gunman.
When you aim at a mother and a 2-year-old child and a man sitting there, you have no conscience. You're a coward.
Police say the woman, her son, the boy's father, and another man were standing on the sidewalk in the 1200 block of West 81st when another vehicle approached. Multiple people jumped out and opened fire. There have been no arrests. The FBI offering a $20,000 reward in connection with several armed robberies at BMO Harris Banks in the western and southern suburbs. Siobhan Johnson is a special agent with the FBI.
Every time we have an additional bank robbery, it makes it that much easier to say that these are likely linked.
According to the FBI, the reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the bundled bandits. Cubs rout the Reds 16-6 at Wrigley Field. Well, the Cubs will be without Marcus Stroman, who was placed on the 15-day injured list with a hip injury. White Sox will be without their closer for the remainder of this season and likely most of next after Liam Hendriks underwent Tommy John surgery on Wednesday. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news. Queen-size MyPillow's regular price, $69.98, now only $19.98 with promo code LIBERTY. Visit MyPillow.com and use that promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John this Saturday afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4 right here on AM 560. The Answer.
When this is the sound of a crackling campfire on a cool evening, you can sit back and relax. But when it's the sound of your counters and cabinets smoking and smoldering following a house fire that's affected your entire kitchen, you need to pick up the phone and call 1-800-SERVPRO. Only the cleanup and restoration specialists at ServPro can help make fire and water damage like it never even happened. So make the call to 1-800-SERVPRO when fire damage strikes. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Test Director Rick from ServPro, the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. It's my job to make sure our pros are prepared for anything. Storm damage? Fixed. Flood damage? We're on it. Fire damage? Not anymore. Aliens? What aliens? We cleaned those sites a while ago. No matter the disaster, our pros will make it like it never even happened. Find out why ServPro is the #1 choice for residential and commercial restoration projects large and small. Visit servpro.com today.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Dell Technologies. Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing that what technology can do. So great ideas can happen right now. Dell.com. Welcome to now. Inbound Kennedy, 48 minutes and climbing from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stop and go traffic on the Stevenson inbound Harlem to Kedzie. Tri-State jamming up northbound Stevenson up through Ogden. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A humid day ahead. Sunshine and patchy clouds. High of 89. 68 at O'Hare. Right now, fog and 63 in Aurora and fog and 64 around DuPage Airport. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So there was a LGBTQIA plus event in Watertown, Wisconsin, which is a small town about 50 miles northwest of Milwaukee. And it involved drag queens dancing for kids, you know, family-friendly stuff.
Oh, yeah, because they label it as family-friendly.
Or maybe it was Lizzo. It's hard to say.
Don't
But
get me
anyway,
started on that.
big people, scantily clad, gyrating in front of children, you know, because that's what kids like.
Can't take them to strip clubs, but then the drag queen strip club comes to you.
It's fun. And so outside of the event was a gentleman named Marcus Schroeder, young guy, and a couple of his friends who are Christians. And he was reading Bible passages, like, you know, outside the event where, you know, it was cordoned off on a public right-of-way. No permit required. And this happened.
Serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you be consumed by one another.
Hey, what are you doing?
What is the problem?
You didn't give him any warning. You just grabbed the mic. No, this is the same one that we had in here. Yeah, that was in there. It was not out here. What is wrong with you? What are you doing? You didn't give us any warning. Let it go. You guys have been warned.
They said we can they said we can speak out here on the sidewalk freely.
You can speak, but there's no amplified device.
Nobody told us that.
What are you doing? Nobody told me that.
Well, how come there's no amplification? Hey, you guys are acting like thugs, man. You're like straight up thugs.
Hey, you're taking away my property.
He has every right to be out here engaging in speech. He has every right to be out here engaging in speech. There's cars driving by with their radios playing. That's amplified sound. People are standing out here with radios. That's amplified sound. The ordinance has to do with a decibel gauge. You don't just get to pick and choose which amplification you like and which you don't. That's selective enforcement of the law. That's discrimination on the basis of speech. That's what you all just did. Content-based discrimination based on speech. Walk away, because you know you just did wrong.
He's right about that, by the way. And that's not the guy who was arrested. He was providing commentary while they took this guy, Marcus Schroeder, away in cuffs. The young man who was reading the Bible verses. Turns out this kid's pretty sharp. So after he bonded out, ostensibly, he showed up to the Watertown, Wisconsin City Council meeting to address the City Council during public comment. And the coverage of this event locally was all about some neo-Nazis that showed up to protest. You know, the heroic LGBTQIA folks who went on with their event despite this hate group outside, the neo-Nazis. And Marcus Schroeder started his comments with a very provocative question.
Guys, I hope you're all doing good tonight. I just wanted to ask a simple question. I know, a Nazi group showed up at the event Saturday and people were talking about that. And I just wanted for all of us to really think about this. What's wrong with Nazism? Like, seriously, what's wrong with Nazism? Because imagine for a moment that there is no God above us, no hell below us, no heaven to live for, as John Lennon wanted to imagine. If we are truly the result of evolved stardust and our ancestors were fish and we're the descendants of monkeys, then where do we find our value as human beings? What's wrong with Nazism? Unless if you understands that the God of Scripture says that we are made in his image. And so to murder innocent people is a violation to God's commands. As a Christian, I can say that what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany was completely horrific and that they should have been resisted. In fact, the number one people group that resisted the Nazis were Christians. And the reason why was because they had a worldview that says that people are made in God's image and that they have worth and value. That's why Nazism is wrong. But if we're going to reject the Christian worldview, then we can't hold on to the fruit that comes from the Christian worldview while denying the actual foundation. Intolerance is an interesting word. Tolerance, intolerance, hatred, love, bigotry, things like that. Because really every culture has something that it's intolerant towards and something that it's tolerant of. I mean, there are things like murder and rape and stealing and just crimes that we are intolerant towards as a society. And so every society has something it's intolerant towards. The question is just, what is our object of intolerance and what is our object of tolerance? When I showed up Saturday, all I did was read from Scripture on the sidewalk. I read from the Bible, Galatians. And by the way, I wasn't reading Romans 1. I wasn't reading any passage that spoke against homosexuality or anything like that. I was reading a passage from the Bible about love. And I was arrested. No reason, not given any warning, not told anything about my amplification needed to be turning down. I was arrested and taken into custody simply for reading the Bible on the sidewalk. You see, as we become more and more tolerant of sexual immorality in our culture, we become more and more intolerant towards Christian morality. And the more we become intolerant towards Christian morality, the more we're going to see lawlessness in our streets. The more we become intolerant of Christian morality, the more we're going to see Nazis. The more we're going to see people who don't hold to a Christian worldview, who think that everybody is a result of animals, and therefore if we are animals, then why can't we just act like animals? We were called a hate group. We were told that we don't want to understand the other side, and I just want to set the record straight. I am more than happy to have that conversation with the other side. I did speech and debate throughout high school, and one of the things that we were taught in debate is that you can't make an argument for your side until you're able to make the argument for the other side. I've sat down and had hours of discussions with LGBTQ activists. I completely understand the other side. I want to understand the other side. But drag queens twerking on kids in lingerie is unacceptable, and that's something that we have to notice as a culture. We can have our disagreements, but there comes a time when we have to understand that we are all going to stand before God one day. And we're going to have to give an account for what we have done with the children in our society, the innocent minds and the children who deserve to be protected. Thank you.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Marcus Schroeder, what do you think?
Wow, he is very well spoken. Whew, for a 15-year-old? Some 15-year-olds can't get their head out of their electronics.
I think he's older than 15, isn't he? But he's a young man, however old he is. Yeah, what about that? Oh, boy, prompting some thought at a city council meeting. Oh, good grief. What do they think of next?
And I don't like the way that he was arrested. Is not a good look for police.
No, it was
I always
not.
back the blue, but I mean, they grabbed it. It was pretty violent. Like grabbed his microphone and then threw his arms behind his back.
They shouldn't have done anything. I don't back the blue when they're wrong. They're wrong.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have a right to free speech, but the drag queens in front of 5-year-olds do.
Well,
if you did that, if that drag queen was at any other location doing what they were doing, they'd be arrested for indecent exposure and probably other things.
Right. So the big picture, which he provided, the big ideas here, the big discussion for people with big boy pants on and big girl pants on. What's wrong with Nazism? Why do you reject it? Oh, well, because they support killing people. And they support subjugating people based on their race. Right. So why do you disagree with that? This is a fun conversation to have with atheists, for example. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I agree with you, but so where does that come from for you? Well, killing people is wrong. We can't tolerate that, as Marcus said. Right. So where does that come from? Did you make that up? Is that an idea you invented? Where'd you get it? Where'd you come to that conclusion? What's the foundation and the instruction and the culture that drove you to that conclusion? You were sitting in a room. Nobody knew this or had this idea until you came into this world and you came up with it. That killing people is bad. Subjugating them by their race in any way is bad. That's all you? From your head? No? So then where is it? Where do you get it? Right? These things that we're tolerant of and intolerant of, as he mentioned. If there's no morality that exists beyond what's rattling around between your ears, and everything is equivalent because, everybody has stuff rattling around between their ears and we're, all equal before the law and so forth. At least this is what people say. I don't know that some of them don't believe that anymore. A lot of them are prosecutors. Lay it out for me. The basis of this philosophy you say you have, these conclusions you've come to. All on your own? You invented this. No? Oh, it traces back somewhere, doesn't it? And where's that? As he said, who stood up against the Nazis, since we like to bandy that moniker around? Who provided the lead, who led the opposition? It was Christians like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, wasn't it? Who sacrificed their lives to fight the Nazis. As so many other freedom fighters throughout the ages in many countries around the world have. Where do they get that belief? Well, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a Lutheran minister, Christian. So pretty straightforward, isn't it? But you're supposed to deny that now. This is some sort of secular ethic that we all simultaneously dreamed up, which is why we can change it on a dime. Or we can adopt it a la carte. What we tolerate and don't tolerate. Those are the questions. These are examples that speak to the larger debate. The larger debate is what we're not having because everybody just throws around these ad hominems. You're intolerant. You're hateful. I'm for love, and I'm for tolerance. What does any of that mean? You're for love and tolerance on some things and not on others. And that's the discussion, isn't it? And the basis of what you decide you love and what you decide you'll tolerate and what you decide you won't. But if there is no truth that exists outside of my head, then right, what's the difference between being a Nazi and not being one? What's the difference between pursuing, behaving in furtherance of your stated beliefs in a direction of violence or in a direction of peace? Because there's no truth that exists outside my head. That's what's being pushed today, and that's what Marcus Schroeder pushed against, and he got arrested. And that should tell you something about where we are. And that's in Watertown, Wisconsin, town of 10,000 people. Jim in St. Joe, Michigan.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Excuse me. Dan, you took the words right out of my mouth. My oldest daughter is gay, and she knows how I feel about it, and I do love her, but I am intolerant of the homosexual movement and what they're doing. I've had many conversations. I work in a business where we do a lot of work for homosexuals in this area in Southwest Michigan. I find a lot of them are very nice. They pay their bills, but it's just really sad. This Marcus Schroeder, my hat goes off to him. He should have never been arrested. And again, I don't know what else to say, Dan. You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you very much. I love your show.
Thanks, Jim. Lee and Hammond.
Hi, guys. You know, Dan, you had a guest on the other day. I think he made a statement that you better not think these people are not serious as a heart attack, because they are not going away. This is what you've got here is a full-out assault on Western values, Western traditions, and civilization based on Christianity. This is orchestrated. This is coordinated. I think we're about 3-4 years behind Canada, because up in Canada they've already been arresting and locking up ministers for quoting the Bible for years now. And people need to understand that.
Yeah.
And this has got nothing to do with gay rights.
Forget up in Canada. I mean, we're 1.5 administrations removed in Houston from a lesbian mayor who wanted editorial control over sermons in churches in the city. People forget that. Thanks for the call, Lee. I mean, this is not something. It's happening and it could come here. It's here. This kid just got arrested in Watertown. Glenn in Oak Brook.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. One of the things I'm always fascinated by on the drag queen shows or displays is, why doesn't that never occur at senior centers?
They don't want anybody to have a heart attack. I mean, these drag queen people that were at this event that look like they're heading to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Hey.
Why doesn't it? Yeah, why aren't they focused on senior centers?
Well, it might be a little more age appropriate than 5-year-olds.
James in Westmont.
I think my father-in-law's place to use a little more excitement at his senior center.
Yeah, sure.
Gather around,
anyway,
kiddies.
Yeah, you're talking about Christians against Nazis. Don't forget about Colonel Klaus Schrenk Grant Stauffenberg. Do you remember that character or that name? He was the devout Catholic colonel who helped lead the assassination attempt against Hitler. It was almost successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
So I mean, it was if only the second bomb detonated, it would have been a different story. That's for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for the call. Memorialized Forever by Tom Cruise. That question. I love that the kid had the guts to say, "What's wrong with Nazis?" Because of course, oh my God, you're supposed to be. No. I'm illustrating
your stupidity.
Well, that you haven't thought through any of this. These are you just recite political cant. You don't think through anything. You're so uncurious. You're so lacking in thoughtfulness. You say it's wrong, and you have no idea why. You say this is what tolerance is, and you have no idea why. You say this is intolerant, and you have no idea why. You just go along. Why did God even bless you with a brain if you're going to behave the way that some of these people that behave? And hopefully Marcus Schroeder woke some people up there in Watertown, Wisconsin, and the surrounding area.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We can tell you about the incredible success we bring to local businesses, but it's better when it comes directly from our satisfied clients. Here's just one example.
After searching for a new vendor to handle my search marketing campaign, I contacted Salem Surround after seeing the great work they did for another restoration company in the different market. Their team of experts recommended a mix of multiple tactics designed to get my business the most quality leads at the lowest cost, making my marketing budget stretch further. In our first year partnering with Salem Surround, we recorded our best year to date, and I've told many people how blessed I was to find them. The representative answered the phone every time I called and quickly addressed any questions or concerns I had.
Let Salem Surround give you an absolutely free audit of your current marketing and show you what your competition is doing. Then we can come up with a personalized plan that's perfect for your needs. Visit surroundchicago.com and let our marketing experts help you achieve real success. Remember to visit surroundchicago.com today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to former Virginia Attorney General, now the national chairman of the Election Transparency Initiative, Ken Cuccinelli, at 7:07. We'll talk to him about that. We'll also talk to him about the DeSantis campaign and candidacy. So stay tuned for that, 7:07.
And later, you will meet Dr. Fauci's replacement. Oh, just a humdinger. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Mayor Johnson on the Southside teen mob action. An ex-NU football player claims racist mistreatment. Cubs crush the Reds. White Sox get bludgeoned by the Rangers and lose their closer to Tommy John surgery. Much more humid day today. Sunshine and patchy clouds. High 89. WIND Chicago News Time 7.
There's a lot of security being put in place at a Washington, D.C. court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's where former President Trump will be arraigned this afternoon, and where he wrote on Truth Social, it'll be impossible to get a fair trial.
The former president is expected to appear in person and may enter a plea on 4 counts brought by special counsel Jack Smith, charging Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States and obstruct an official proceeding. An attorney for the former president argues a change of venue is appropriate, suggesting West Virginia is a possible alternative.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. This is the third Trump indictment, and it's related to what special counsel Smith alleges are his lies that led to the Capitol riot, attempting to overturn the 2020 election. But Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney tells Fox,
we're criminalizing free speech. Yeah. A metaphor, fight like hell now is a crime.
Another Capitol rioter has been arrested. He's known as Rally Runner, famous for going around the St. Louis Cardinals stadium during baseball games in all red with red face paint. The FBI says he was also red-faced on January 6th when he stormed the Capitol and is now charged with interfering with police, a felony. Robert Bauer's death sentence is expected to be formalized in Pittsburgh the day after a jury recommended his execution for the 2018 attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue, killing 11 Jewish worshipers.
I thank God I survived, and I'm alive, and I'm here to see this day.
And his survivor, Martin Gaynor. The FBI is searching for more possible victims of a man arrested last month in Nevada after a woman abducted from Seattle escaped his custody at a home in Oregon.
She alleges she was kidnapped, shackled, sexually assaulted, and locked in this makeshift cell.
Assistant Special FBI Agent in charge, Stephanie Shark. Nagazi Zuberi is facing numerous charges linked to sexual assaults in other states, too. America's listening to Fox News.
70 degrees, much more humid today. Fog developing in the western suburbs at 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. And good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A woman is dead. Her 2-year-old son, as well as 2 others, are wounded following a shooting on the south side, where Father Michael Flager says someone needs to come forward.
When you aim at a mother and a 2-year-old child and a man sitting there, you have no conscience. You're a coward.
Police say the woman, her son, the boy's father, and another man were standing on the sidewalk yesterday in the 1200 block of West 81st when a black vehicle approached. Multiple people jumped out and opened fire. There have been no arrests. 12 from 2 separate drug trafficking organizations in Chicago are facing charges of supplying and selling fentanyl-laced drugs. The arrests and charges are the result of a multi-year investigation by the FBI. Governor J.B. Pritzker is dismissing the possibility of using the National Guard to relieve the city's police officers dealing with high crime rates. According to police statistics, overall crime in the city is up 36%. Recently, the governor was asked about the possibility of using the state police as backup for CPD.
They're tremendous, but like I said, we only have 1,900 of them available, to use, and we still have the rest of the state to patrol when you're talking about, let's say, the city of Rockford, the city of Chicago. And, we can do some things, but not everything with state police.
State Representative LaShawn Ford, though, says nothing should be off the table.
I think that if the top cop of Chicago has the ability to actually, I think that if the top cop of Chicago.
Meantime, the state briefly used the National Guard in 2020 to try and calm civil unrest by keeping traffic from using highway on and off ramps and other protective services. Mayor Brandon Johnson has a new strategy, he believes, for teen takeovers in the city of Chicago. 40 were arrested, most of them teens, most of them charged with misdemeanors. When discussing the mob gathering this past weekend in the South Loop, the mayor didn't like some descriptions of the mob action.
We have to be very careful when we use language to describe certain behavior. There's history in this city. To refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate.
But the mayor was also heavily criticized for not attending any national night out events meant to help build relationships between police and city residents. Chicago sports, Cubs over the Reds 16-6. Marcus Stroman on the 15-day injured list with a hip injury. Sox were beaten by the Rangers, and they lose their closer for the remainder of the season. Liam Hendricks underwent Tommy John surgery. The news, a service of Fox Valley Coins, currently buying all gold and silver bars, coins, silver dollars, rare, date-proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. 7:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
There are millions upon millions of people of good character going to good states and low-rent Democrat scum going to Democrat states. After all, that's where they thrive. This is where this is acceptable. And it's being put as something that's normal. It's normal now to be an outright thief, scumbag, traitor to your country.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now, 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Don't let earache from swimmer's ear, clogged ears, or allergies ruin your day.
Get fast, effective relief from the pain and itching with Hyland's Earache Drops, the #1 best-selling earache treatment for over 10 years. See why it's received thousands of 5-star reviews and was awarded Best Over-the-Counter Medicine and Health Product in Earache Relief by U.S. News and World Report. Find Hyland's Earache Drops in the eye and ear aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes. Heroes like Marine Corps Corporal Seth Rasmussen, who lost his life in an Osprey aircraft crash. Tunnel to Towers immediately stepped in to provide his wife and infant son with a mortgage-free home. Help the families of heroes like Seth get through the worst times in their lives. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh yeah, this is a superior product.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. This week only, we're extending our special travel offer. Right now, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
7:09. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens 18, Lake Cook Road to the Junction. Kennedy, it's an hour. O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. Stevenson, an accident inbound between Harlem and Damon. Right now it is 45 from I-355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive itself jams up northbound Jackson to Monroe. The Veterans slow northbound Maple to the Reagan. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
It'll be humid today. Sun patchy clouds are high today up to 89. Partly cloudy, humid tonight, and a low at 71. Partly sunny, less humid day tomorrow. The high 85. Clouds and sun, thunderstorm on Saturday. The high 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
68 at O'Hare. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. With respect to Trump's indictment, we talked about it largely from a First Amendment perspective, as well as Supreme Court precedent with respect to presidential powers, the Nixon v. Fitzgerald case that indemnifies a president from civil and criminal liability taken in actions consistent with the execution of his office. But Alan Dershowitz, of course, famed Harvard law professor.
Been on the show many times.
Been on our show many times. He had a bit of a different take on it, too, just in terms of the standard of evidence that's required to prosecute your chief political opponent in a free society. That's sort of where he went in discussing this and all of the indictments. First, the January 6th indictment.
Not strong enough or specific enough to satisfy the very high standard that's required when a president of the United States allows his Justice Department to indict his opponent and influence the outcome of the election. That is such a serious matter that it can't be based on vague conspiratorial notions proof of intent beyond a reasonable doubt. No, this is a charge that will result in a conviction in the District of Columbia, because just as a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, a petty jury in the District of Columbia will certainly convict somebody named Donald Trump, as long as the evidence is plausible. But it doesn't satisfy the high standard that should be required when you're going after your political opponent. That's Banana Republic, when you go after your political opponent by indicting them.
So that's on January 6th. You know, the Banana Republic characterization invoked, not unique. Then Dershowitz's summation on all the indictments to present, with one still pending.
No, he wasn't treated fairly. Now, we have to see whether the obstruction charge sticks. It's based apparently on triple hearsay. I've read the indictment. It doesn't say that Donald Trump himself told an eye or ear witness to erase videotapes. Apparently, there were no erased videotapes. All the videotapes were turned over. So that obstruction charge seems to be based on triple hearsay, but we'll wait and see how it uncovers and develops. The charge itself of classified material doesn't meet the standard of the same justice for all, because it doesn't seem all that different from the allegations made against other people of the Democratic Party. So far, I've seen nothing that warrants prosecuting the man who is now in a 44-44 poll tie with the incumbent president and trying to influence the outcome of the election through prosecution. To do that, the standard has to be so high, like in the Nixon case. I don't think it was met here.
David Rifkin and Lee Casey practice appellate constitutional law in Washington, D.C. They had an op-ed in the Journal about the January 6th indictment of Trump, and that it imperils the presidency, not his presidency, the presidency, writing, Trump's conduct may be hard to defend, but the stakes here are far greater than his fate. One can easily envision a future president using military force, sending weapons to another country, engaging in a major diplomatic endeavor, or authorizing a prosecution based on what opponents believe, perhaps rightly, are self-serving lies. Under Mr. Smith's theory, he could be charged with defrauding the United States. The specter of such prosecutions would cripple the ability of all future presidents to perform their constitutional responsibilities vigorously and fearlessly. That's why we have presidential immunity in the first place. But, you know, when you're dealing with the ends justify the means crowd, we just have to get what we want now, no consideration for future implications. We'll deal with future implications when they're realized. For more on this and other matters, pleased to be joined by Ken Cuccinelli. He's the national chairman of the Election Transparency Initiative. He's also a former attorney general for the state of Virginia, and he's affiliated with a DeSantis super PAC, a super PAC supporting Ron DeSantis in the presidential race. Ken, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be with you guys.
So you're a constitutional scholar, attorney, former attorney general as well here, so we need you to weigh in on this. What's your perspective, particularly on the January 6th indictment?
It reads basically like an impeachment bill, not a criminal indictment. And they already did that twice with Donald Trump. I agree with Dershowitz's comments on the prior. I would say that Trump has 2.5 BS indictments. The half that isn't is the obstruction, basically the cover-up. You know, it's the cover-up's worse than the crime. And Dershowitz touched on the videos. There's also lying to 3 different lawyers in order to certify things to a grand jury that were not true. So those are the non-BS charges, but the entire J6 indictment is just baloney. I was in front of that grand jury twice. The first time I ended up arguing with one of the grand jurors. The second time I had it out with the prosecutor in front of the grand jury. And basically what the prosecutor and I argued over is what they ended up charging. I said, you are trying to criminalize a difference of a legal theory, and you don't like the legal theory, but it's not an illegitimate legal theory. It's not made up, and you don't get to do that. Well, they can at least charge it. So I wasn't right about that.
Well,
they shouldn't be able to prevail.
That must have been a moment, though, but you arguing with, was it Jack Smith or somebody else before the grand jury? That must have been interesting for the grand jurors to the extent they were not asleep.
No, and 3/4 of them were wearing masks in January of 2023. What that might tell you.
There you go.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
I know.
And then
yeah, we believe you.
Roll my dang eyes. I'm like, are you kidding me? And look, you noted I started a super PAC for DeSantis. I am not anti-Trump. I'm for DeSantis because he's better at almost everything. And you know, a lot of this trouble is self-made by Trump. That doesn't mean it should be criminally charged.
Right.
But he sure does give them softballs to hit. And DeSantis doesn't do that. He hits the other side softballs out of the park. But you know, that's it. It is a factor for me.
So the judge today, she appointed by Obama, she's been very hard on January 6 suspects who've, you know, she's harsh with the sentencing. Do you think she's going to detain Trump on pretrial detention?
No.
There's no way.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No. And I think there's a decent chance this case gets moved down to the district the president lives in currently. Decent chance.
Oh, really? You think he could get a change of venue? Based on,
I think it's possible.
Based on what would be the legal argument?
The legal argument would be kind of standard stuff, but the reason the judge would do it, might do it, is yes, she's been tough on J6 people and so forth, but the reality is you don't have to be smarter than a box of rocks to realize what will happen in D.C. and that it won't be a legitimate outcome. It won't be perceived as a legitimate outcome by the rest of America. If you want a legitimate outcome, you have to have a legitimate trial. And it's already BS charges, as we've already talked about. But at least get it in front of a real jury instead of a foregone conclusion.
Well,
so that's why I think that's possible.
Oh, wow. Well, that ascribes a level of equanimity that is very optimistic.
No, yes. Well, I just told you possible.
Yeah,
and,
I understand.
And you know, you can say whatever you want about the judge, but she's not dumb. And you know, this has bigger implications, much bigger implications. And I would suggest that that judge can see that what I just said is true. Whether she therefore acts on it will be another question entirely. We will see. That's where your equanimity comment comes into play, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But you know,
there's already a lot of
I'd be remiss if I didn't spend some of this time pointing out that Ron DeSantis removes. He's the only person in America who's removed a Soros prosecutor. You know, he is actually cleaning up the part of these systems within his reach. Donald Trump helped build these systems. He hired Christopher Wray, and now he complains about Christopher Wray. He hired Mark Milley. He gave Fauci an award going out the door. I was there as deputy secretary, as you guys know, in DHS. I fought his appointees to try to achieve his agenda as much as I fought the left. He wasn't good at this, and I'm sorry people don't like to hear that. He's a hell of a showman, but there's very little preparation and very little follow-through. I did appreciate that he frequently made good decisions, but you know, when your follow-through on something, you know, an example I use sometimes is to make a particular visa situation, the H-1B, these tech visas that displace middle-class Americans. Companies don't pay Social Security and Medicare taxes on those people, and the president finally agreed with me, yeah, okay, let's do that. So his way of getting that done was, Ken, go tell Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury, to do it, because it's a tax issue. Treasury had to do it. Well, I couldn't even get him on the phone. And, you know, I let the president know that, and he didn't do anything about it. That's Donald Trump follow-through. That is, you compare that to DeSantis trying to desexualize things in schools. He gets K through 3. He extends it to K through 6. He clears out high schools. Then he helps people run for school board while he's running for governor. I've never seen a governor do that before. He helped in 34 races. They won 29 of them. They took over the Miami-Dade School Board. So now people are in place to actually follow through and implement these policies that protect children. That's follow through.
And
that's a big difference here.
And the tack that DeSantis is taking, I think it's interesting. I think it's probably smart that he announced on Hannity yesterday that he's accepting Gavin Newsom's invitation to debate and use the Newsom California versus DeSantis Florida as a
oh my gosh!
But I mean, but what's the larger play? Because it seems to me that DeSantis is spinning his wheels, or has been spinning his wheels, partly because he's still searching for a unifying message that's more than just his record in Florida.
Well, first of all, he does have the best chief executive record of anybody in our lifetimes, period, president or governor, in terms of depth and breadth for a conservative. I mean, nobody can touch it. Nobody. And it's really incredible. Now, part of that is because of COVID, it created historic opportunities for contrast. When he stood nearly alone, you know, everybody in the country noticed as he fought supposed experts and so forth. So that's a bit unique. And at the same time, you've got the biggest state, the Golden State, you know, that gets a lot of this attention naturally anyway, visibly going in the toilet on these progressive policies. This is a great right-left opportunity for our movement to showcase the difference between policies that are on the left and policies that are on the right.
I stipulate all that, but that's really not the question. The question is, how does DeSantis leverage that for a presidential primary campaign? Because, yeah, you're going to get a 100% agreement among Republican primary voters,
okay, so
Florida versus California. Yeah. But you know, the message from, and look, I'm a Florida resident. I'm a fan of DeSantis, huge fan. So, but you also have to look at things and say, well, we're in decline, and I want to reverse it. That is not a value proposition, and I'm just seeing him, in my view, struggle to get beyond what is an excellent record in Florida and nationalize the value proposition of Ron DeSantis as the presidential nominee to Republican primary voters.
Great question. Yes, and nationalizing the vision is part of what he's doing one step at a time. So a few weeks ago, he's in South Carolina, and we'll take the woke battle and the fact that he is the only veteran running for president, the only one on either side of the aisle. And and we all know, those of us who've been paying attention, about the recruitment problems for the military, the readiness problems of the military, and he combined the two. And I think, in a way, with a spectacularly well received in a state that's full of veterans, he turned his experience, both as a veteran in a war zone and as a governor, being the still leading fighter of the woke agenda, all into one national vision for the military. He did combine that with more traditional military commentary as well. So he cast the vision forward. This past week, on Monday, he was in New Hampshire rolling out an economic vision that is entirely consistent with what he's accomplished in Florida, and with real goals. He treats it, yes, 3% growth, but what does 3% growth mean in my house? It means that you can afford to raise a family, that you can afford to buy a house. So they are bringing it down to the kitchen table. And I watched Chris Christie's opening town hall back in May, and he had a funny comment for a lady who asked him about a particular issue, and he didn't want to. He said, "Look, I don't want to roll all that out for you now, because I want you to come back to the next one of these." I do.
Well,
so you know, we are 5 months before voting starts, and the three of us are not statistically normal in the degree of attention we pay to this. I do think more attention will start to be paid. It's like Labor Day at the first presidential debate, whether Trump is there or not.
Well,
people
Trump
who
said
haven't yet paid attention will start to pay attention.
Sorry for interrupting, but President Trump said if he doesn't debate, he's going to watch it to see who his running mate might be. And is there any chance that DeSantis would be that person?
No chance. And the Constitution really makes that not literally, but nearly impossible, because if your running mate is from your same state, you can't get the electoral votes from that state. That was the founders' way of spreading around the executive positions to make sure that two people on the ticket wouldn't be from the same state. And the governor of the state isn't moving to become a vice president.
But
and will Trump will move again, to become vice president. Nobody wants Donald Trump as a vice president, and including Donald Trump.
Yeah, no chance.
There's no way Donald Trump.
No.
He's got too much pride for that.
All right, before we let you go, I mean, I got a lot more questions about the DeSantis campaign and your PAC, but I do want to get to this other deal that
elections.
Election Transparency Initiative, and also what's going on in a key swing state, and that's the state of Georgia, where the otherwise detestable in the minds of MAGA country, Brad Raffensperger, is purging the improper voter registrations from the Georgia voters roll, the registrations that are defunct, which is what secretaries of state and election authorities should be doing. So give us status for people that are very fatalistic about, well, we can't win because we don't have VBM programs. We can't win because the elections are rigged in all these states. And in some states, there's been some market improvements.
Yeah, actually, overall, where we sit today, we're much better off than we were going into the 2020 election. I mean, there are states that are exceptions to that, like Michigan, that step backwards. But in most states, Georgia being the most explosive of them, we have made progress. And by saying most, I mean most swing states. Georgia has had several rounds of election reforms, and they weren't first. Iowa was first, but Georgia is what the left decided to attack, maybe because Stacey Abrams is there. This is where Jim Crow 2.0 cropped up. Even the Washington Post called Joe Biden a four Pinocchios liar over what he was saying about what Georgia was doing. But to their credit, and this is the important part, Georgia pressed ahead and did the reforms anyway. And that's a major difference from previous waves on other issues, is that everybody right of center has stuck together, not just conservatives, to move some of these reforms forward. And one of them, Dan, is cleaning the voter rolls. And they've advanced several ways to do that. They've been doing it. That doesn't mean it isn't controversial when they do it. But when you actually press ahead, and let's tell people what clean the voter rolls means. It means inactive voters, people who haven't voted in a while, come off the voter rolls. Well, what if that person just suddenly decides to vote again? Don't worry, folks. They get to vote. They cast a provisional ballot, and they essentially check the records after the election. And if they are, legitimized as to they are who they say they are and so forth, the vote counts. So, the left doesn't want anybody to know that. They want it to sound like, oh, people's votes are being taken away, they're being wiped off the rolls and so forth. No, but people do die, and people do move out of state, and there is no really good way, from just talk about Georgia, to know that someone has moved out of Georgia. I mean, for those listening who've moved from one state to another, when you left state number one, did you call the registrar and deregister as a voter?
Right.
No, you didn't.
Right.
You didn't do that.
No,
and one thing I would like to see us do on the right is use these private databases that places like Amazon use to determine who can sell things, to determine if they're still living where they living, one, and two, living where the voter rolls say they are, and because they're much more accurate than, say, the national change of address. And we seem insistent on using government to check government records, and the private sector is much better at it.
Ken Cuccinelli, National Chairman of the Election Transparency Initiative, former Attorney General, State of Virginia. Ken, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Always good to be with you all. Good to talk to you.
It's a pleasure, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Grubhub Holdings Incorporated seeks Site Reliability Engineer 2 in Chicago, Illinois, to focus on the operational aspects of their services, running products and services from conception to continuous operation. Telecommuting permitted within MSA. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 11408. Grubhub Holdings Incorporated seeks Site Reliability Engineer 2 in Chicago, Illinois, to focus on the operational aspects of their services, running products and services from conception to continuous operation. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 11408. Grubhub Holdings Incorporated seeks Site Reliability Engineer 2 in Chicago, Illinois, to focus on the operational aspects of their services, running products and services from conception to continuous operation. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 11408. Telecommuting permitted within MSA. Jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 11408.
AM 560, The Answer.
No, one question for DeSantis supporters. We didn't get to this with Ken Cuccinelli. We'll have him back and go through more of the DeSantis campaign. But where are DeSantis' surrogates? Ken Cuccinelli is one, I understand it. He's a fine one, but where are DeSantis' surrogates? All of those success stories coming out of Florida, and nobody speaks for the campaign. Nobody speaks for the candidate except Ron DeSantis and Ken Cuccinelli that I've seen. Very few. Meanwhile, you have Trump piling up all these endorsements from sitting Republican members of Congress, including from Florida. I don't really think the answer he gave in terms of the vision or the value proposition for the DeSantis campaign, it sort of spoke to the fact that he doesn't have one still, because it took him 2 minutes to explain it. And just the operation of the campaign. I'm still not seeing a campaign commensurate with the talent, in my view. But anyway, coming up at 7:37, we'll talk to Amber Athey, Washington editor for The Spectator, about the war on life's simple pleasures. 7:37.
But now let's head straight into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Fog developing in the far western suburbs this morning, 69 degrees at 7:34. 13 have been injured this morning in South Korea when a man rammed a car onto a sidewalk and stepped out of that vehicle and began stabbing people at a subway station in a large city. Police say at least 9 were stabbed, 4 others were badly hurt by the vehicle. Meantime, at least 108 Boy Scouts were treated for heat-related illness at the World Scout Jamboree today in South Korea. The illnesses occurred during the opening ceremony attended by 40,000 scouts. Well, it's not the first debate, but it's a big one. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis agreeing to debate California Governor Gavin Newsom.
An aide to Governor Newsom says his office sent a formal request to Fox News last week with a proposal to debate DeSantis sometime in early November. The request called for Fox News host Sean Hannity to serve as a moderator for a 90-minute forum that would air live without a studio audience. On Hannity's program Wednesday night, DeSantis agreed to the challenge and said, "I'm game, just tell me when and where." I'm Mark Mayfield.
A man convicted of the worst attack on Jewish people in U.S. history is being sentenced to death. Federal jury decided Wednesday that Robert Bowers should be given the death penalty. Bowers was convicted of killing 11 at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018. A woman is dead. Her 2-year-old son, as well as 2 others, are wounded. It follows a shooting on Chicago's South Side. There have been no arrests. 12 from 2 separate drug trafficking organizations in Chicago face charges of supplying and selling fentanyl-laced drugs, cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. Plus, authorities recovered $400,000 in cash and a Bentley and Mercedes vehicle. Also, custom-built motorcycles were taken into custody, the result of a multi-year investigation. Illinois is making full-day kindergarten mandatory in the state, but not until the 2027-2028 school year. Governor Pritzker signed that bill yesterday. A Hispanic former Northwestern University football player is sharing his allegations of hazing within the program. Ramon Diaz filed suit claiming he was subjected to racist taunts over his Mexican heritage, including the team shaving the word Cinco de Mayo into the back of his head. That is a Diaz allegation. He says as a result of that abuse, he tried to kill himself by overdosing on painkillers in 2006. Cubs overcame a 3-run deficit to rout the Reds 16-6 at Wrigley Field. White Sox were knocked out of the park in an 11-1 loss to the Rangers. NFL football is back, well, sort of. Preseason kicks off tonight when the Jets take on the Browns in the Hall of Fame game. The news is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
It's time to wake up, Illinois. This is Shannon Adcock with Awake, Illinois. On June 5th, I had the pleasure of appearing on Fox Business's Evening Edit with Liz McDonald to discuss how Biden, Pritzker, and the Democrats are failing our kids. While Biden is ignoring the existence of a 7th grandchild, he isn't focused on America's kids either. He prefers to collude with the nation's teacher unions, aka the wicked cabals that are donors to leftist Democrat politicians. The Post-Millennial recently published how the NEA teacher union adopted an LGBTQ-centric amendment at a meeting earlier this month, and the price tag is $583,000. Documents reviewed by the Post-Millennial from the NEA meeting show that the new measure will further entrench groups like the trans-focused Human Rights Campaign, the trans-teen-focused Trevor Project, and the global trans group GLSEN into curriculum and policy. While literacy and math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, Lurie Children's Hospital and the various school-based sexuality clubs are working very hard to talk to your kids about puberty blockers, chest binders, and the pseudoscience that Europe has already canceled, known as gender-affirming care. Well, let us affirm this for you. This is a war on children, and we parents have had enough. To put your parental rights on record prior to the start of the school year, visit www.awakeil.com/forms. Also be sure to check out the Awake Americans Woke 101 event recording and toolkit available at awakeamericans.org. The time is now to defend your values. For Awake Illinois and Awake Americans, I'm Shannon Adcock, and we cannot be canceled.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of MyPillow. MyPillow employees want to thank you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. Only $19.98, but only with promo code Liberty. Kennedy, 62 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're watching the Ike. It's just exploded now through the avenues, and it's an hour from 390 into the old post office. Big heavies on the inbound Dan Ryan between Garfield and Roosevelt. 25 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jams up northbound between the Stevenson and Roosevelt. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A humid day ahead. Sunshine and patchy clouds will top out at 89. More humidity under partly cloudy skies, 71 overnight. 85, less humid, kind of pleasant for tomorrow afternoon, a summer-like 85. 69 at O'Hare, fog in Aurora, and fog in Naperville this morning. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Really, it's only been a couple of weeks since the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, his administration announced their big plans to cool off the planet because we're in this period of global boiling. Remember, the UN Secretary General told us that. Here was that announcement.
No, not while my greatest nemesis still provides our customers with free light, heat, and energy. I call this enemy the sun. Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun. I will do the next best thing. Block it out.
Good God.
Imagine it, Smithers. Electrical lights and heaters running all day long.
But, sir, every plant and tree will die. Owls will deafen us with incessant hooting. The town sundial will be useless. I don't want any part of this project. It's unconscionably fiendish.
I will not suffer your insubordination.
When did Smithers go to work for the big guy? They call it solar radiation modification, not a cartoon, although it's cartoonish. The report noted several ways authorities could look to achieve solar radiation modification, all of which do admittedly come with potentially devastating consequences if they're wrong. The task of blocking out the sun could have severe ramifications for weather patterns and food supplies, which would in turn impact biodiversity, geopolitics, and health. But you know how good the government is at huge gambits like this, particularly in the name of threats that are wildly exaggerated. This is part of the war on life's simple pleasures, including sunlight, that Amber Athey wrote about recently. She joins us now, Washington editor for The Spectator, host of the Unfit to Print podcast, and author of The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Amber, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So we are kindred spirits in at least one sense. This piece that you wrote about life's simple pleasures, water pressure. My shower needs to hit me like the fire hose hit Andy Dufresne in Shawshank. That's what I demand, and you agree.
Absolutely. I think that the shower should feel like it's flossing your skin off or it's not doing its job, right? And unfortunately, we've seen attempts to regulate shower water pressure over the past decade or so. They started mostly under the Obama administration. And Trump actually pulled the regulations back. He said that he was going to get rid of this rule that basically made sure that companies who manufacture shower heads, the only way that they could produce a semi-quality shower while abiding by the water pressure regulations was to put a bunch of holes in the head. And as we know, that actually just reduces the pressure even more because you have water dispersing through multiple exit points. And Trump said, no, we're going to have good showers in America. But the Biden administration reversed it along with a bunch of other policies in the name of being eco-friendly. And it's so foolhardy, I think, these plans to regulate people's appliances and the amount of water that they use, because apparently what the Biden administration doesn't realize is that if your appliances don't work the first time or they don't work efficiently, they're basically just using more energy and water in the time that it takes you to actually get your things clean.
Well, right, and so now this has spread, as it always does, this government creep, pun intended, to stoves and dishwashers
and light bulbs.
Well, light bulbs, yeah. Obviously, we've won the war on incandescent light bulbs. That's a celebration. So this is, the whole sort of your existence in your private spaces is going to be it's substantially, if not completely, regulated by the federal government. At least that's the idea.
Exactly. And I remember earlier this year, everyone was talking about the potential for a gas stove ban, and the Biden administration insisted repeatedly that it wasn't happening. But then we saw it happen in California and in New York, where they did attempt to take away gas stoves. And everyone who cooks knows that gas stoves are superior, right? Your food gets heated more evenly. Your food doesn't slide around in your pan because it's actually on an even surface. All professional cooks prefer gas stoves over electric and other cooktops. And the Democrats just don't care. They really don't. They want to take away these little things that improve people's lives, in some cases substantially, in some cases just a little bit. But for a lot of people, that matters, right? Having a good dishwasher matters to a lot of people. If you're a woman who stays at home and takes care of her family and you're doing tons of dishes on the daily, it matters to you that you have a good dishwasher that has the water pressure capable of actually getting your dishes cleaned on the first try. It matters to you that your toilet only takes one flush to get your waste down into the pipes, and avoids clogging constantly, or plumbers coming in to have to fix your toilet because it doesn't have enough pressure to get the stuff going down. These things are important to people, and I don't fault anybody for these things being important to them, just like shower water pressure is important to us. And I think it's such an elitist attitude for the people in power to pretend like these are no big deal. Well, and to them it's not, because naturally I doubt that any of them will have to go without any of the best because they can afford it.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi has two, restaurant grade freezers in her house in San Francisco.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, she's got to have a space for chocolate bars.
Right, but is there any proof that if you go from a gas stove to an electric stove, that's going to do anything? Or is this just feel-good ideas?
I think it's just feel-good ideas. I mean, the studies on the gas stove incident, for example, are all funded by electric and clean energy groups. And clean energy is kind of a misnomer anyway, because as we know, in the case of electric vehicles, the mining for the cobalt and other minerals that's required to make those batteries ends up producing way more waste than just having a gas car. But they say that gas stoves are going to cause asthma in children. And when you look at the studies, it's clear that they have extrapolated a whole bunch of data in a way that doesn't really make sense. It's obvious that they have refused to look at data that could possibly refute their assertions, because they're approaching these studies with a certain goal, which is to increase the likelihood that the government will give subsidies and contracts to these so-called clean energy groups over traditional companies that make appliances that require fossil fuels. And there's really no evidence that these minor changes would really affect the environment anyway. There's a recent testimony of an individual from the U.S. Department of Energy who is trying to push a lot of these climate proposals. And when asked what the government would actually do with the proposed $50 trillion that the climate groups want to use to reduce temperatures, he said they had no idea, and that they couldn't even tell you how much that $50 trillion was actually going to reduce the human footprint on the environment.
Well,
so I think these policies are ridiculous. They don't really understand what they're doing. And I really think it's just a control mechanism to get Americans to be a little bit more miserable and a little bit more compliant.
Well, I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money to build that Mr. Burns-like contraption to block out the sun. So,
Right.
you gotta factor that in. And by the way, on the water pressure thing, and just the whole shower experience, I hope they don't go after delousing powder, because I want to be hit like the fire hose hit Dufresne, and then I also delouse after my shower as well, like that. So I need powder, thrown at me. All right. So before we let you go, what can we do as a society to make Megan Rapinoe feel more loved, celebrated, appreciated?
Yeah, 'cause Dan really loves soccer, and he loves Megan.
Well, I feel like
Really.
she's not getting. I mean, especially according to her, the sort of recognition and celebration she deserves.
Yeah, she really is insistent that she's a victim and that somehow the entire world is against her. And I have this piece that I wrote in The Spectator recently about how she wants to be the last female sports star, because she has somewhat single-handedly sabotaged a lot of people's goodwill towards the U.S. women's national team. And the U.S. has a very unique phenomenon where their women's team is far more popular than their men's team. That's not the case globally. And yet Megan Rapinoe constantly complains about the lack of attention that they receive. It's truly mind-blowing. Of course, she was involved in that equal pay fight, which turned out to be bogus because the women themselves had actually negotiated a different contract from the men's team and then complained about the outcome of it, which, to be honest, is a very womanly thing to do.
Nice.
And then she also believes that biological men should be able to play in women's sports, and of course she never had to deal with that, which
right, because she says that on the way
make
out.
her position moot because she wouldn't be as talented, and so she wants to pull the ladder up behind her and make sure other women don't get the same opportunities that she did.
But she's such a great success story. I mean, I read your article and I loved it. I didn't know she was inspired to play soccer by her older brother, who then suffered from a heroin addiction.
Yes, and her twin sister, they played soccer together for a really long time. And her twin sister suffered from quite a few injuries and actually ended up having an opioid addiction herself. She's in recovery now, but I don't know how you go through your life and see the tragedies befalling your family members and not be extraordinarily grateful for the position that you were given.
She is Amber Athey, Washington editor for The Spectator, host of the Unfit to Print podcast, and author of the book, The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Amber, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
From Hall of Fame artists to rising stars, the Illinois Lottery Grandstand stage will be rocking at this year's Illinois State Fair. Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, the Doobie Brothers, on Saturday night, August 12th. 7-time Grammy Award winner Alanis Morissette with special guest Tennille Towns on Sunday night, August 13th. Illinois natives REO Speedwagon returns to the State Fair with special guest Edwin McCain on Tuesday night, August 15th. Hard Rock and Alter Bridge with special guest Mammoth WVH on Wednesday night, August 16th. And rounding out the rock will be Illinois-rooted rockers Chevelle on Friday night, August 18th, with special guests to be announced. Tickets on sale now, 24/7 at Ticketmaster.com or on the Ticketmaster app or at the Grandstand ticket office during regular business hours. Don't miss Rock and Roll's Elite at the 2023 Illinois State Fair, August 10th through the 20th.
You can shed that fat, be slimmer for the summer. No more wearing cover-ups or T-shirts in the pool. NJ Diet will help you the natural way. There are no shots, no hormones, and no surgery. You'll lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40-plus pounds in only 40 days with NJ Diet. They use your hair, saliva, and blood work along with bioenergetic scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone so you can finally lose the weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. Best of all, it's contractually guaranteed. You're fully supervised the entire time to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water, and you even get Dr. T's personal email and phone number. Dr. T is Dr. Turovets, the founder of NJ Diet. NJ Diet has locations close by in Skokie and Oak Brook, or is available from home with live online video consultations. Just call 855-5-NJ-DIET or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
Russian officials recently revealed a new global supercurrency backed by physical gold will be announced on August 22nd with support from China, India, and other countries. Many economists warn this could radically change the world economy and possibly destroy the value of the dollar. And that means the value of your 401k or IRA is at risk. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I want to urge you to protect yourself and your family right now. How? By diversifying your 401k or IRA into physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word HEDGE to 989898. August 22nd will be here before you know it. So take action today. Fortify your nest egg using the power of gold inside of a tax advantage account. Text HEDGE to the number 989898. That's HEDGE, HEDGE, to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs right now.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child, too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh yeah, this is a superior product.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. This week only, we're extending our special travel offer. Right now, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Divorce forces a father to focus on what's most important, his children. You may no longer be a husband, but you'll always be a dad. In the divorce process, this comes down to three key concerns: physical custody, decision-making, as well as financial support. Each of these is important, and it's important that you choose a lawyer that cares as much about these issues as you do.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Springfield area attorneys. 2815 Old Jacksonville Road, Suite 103, Springfield, Illinois, 62704. CordellCordell.com.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan, quickly, another Justin Trudeau update. He and his wife did go to counseling, but they tried to make it work, but they couldn't do it, so they're separating after 18 years of marriage and 3 children.
Is there anything Justin Trudeau would like to tell everyone at this point?
I don't know, not at this point, but stay tuned.
All right.
Okay.
Still coming to grips with it, is he?
Yeah, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Dr. Joel Zinberg, our friend from the Competitive Enterprise Institute, on reorging the CDC, 808.
And they have a new warning for you Floridians, Dan. You better watch out. Now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
A woman killed, her 2-year-old son and others wounded on the south side. WIND, Chicago News Time.
It's
8.
arraignment day number 3 for former President Trump. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. This time he's facing charges related to the Capitol riot and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He calls it ridiculous election interference. His son Eric Trump tells Fox.
I think my father's greatest legacy is actually going to be exposing these frauds for what they are.
Fox's Jared Halpern's outside the court.
Lines of live trucks and media tents circled the court building here not far from the U.S. Capitol, where former President Trump will be arraigned at 4 p.m. on 4 counts of conspiracy to defraud the United States and obstruct an official proceeding. The appearance itself is not expected to take long. It will happen in front of a magistrate judge. Prosecutors want a speedy trial. Attorneys for the former president say they'll need plenty of time to prepare and also could ask for a change of venue outside of Washington, D.C.
In that city, a Trump social media post said it would be impossible to get a fair trial. We're just getting the transcript of what Hunter Biden's ex-business associate told the House Oversight Committee last week in the Republicans' investigation into the president's son. Devin Archer said that Hunter put his father, then Vice President Biden, on the phone with clients more than 20 times, selling the Biden brand. And he said without that brand, Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company Archer and Hunter Biden were on the board of, would have gone out of business. The U.S. State Department's ordered a partial evacuation of Americans in Niger a week after a military coup in that African country, but the U.S. military is not taking part in that.
Non-essential staff and their families are being withdrawn, we're told, out of an abundance of caution. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has spoken to Niger's ousted president. The U.S. wants Mohamed Bazoum reinstated and a peaceful solution achieved.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. There was a slight increase in unemployment filings last week, 227,000 first-time jobless claims. Tomorrow we get the monthly report on hiring and July's unemployment rate. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine in 69 at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A woman is dead. Her 2-year-old son, as well as 2 other people, are wounded. It follows a shooting on Chicago's South Side. Father Michael Flager.
When you aim at a mother and a 2-year-old child and a man sitting there, you have no conscience. You know you're a coward.
It happened yesterday on the sidewalk in the 1200 block of West 81st. The woman died at a nearby hospital. The other 3 victims remain hospitalized in good condition. 12 people from 2 separate drug trafficking organizations in Chicago are facing charges of supplying and selling fentanyl-laced drugs, including heroin and cocaine. Authorities also seized luxury cars along with $400,000 in suspected illicit cash. The FBI offering a $20,000 reward in connection with several armed robberies of BMO Harris banks in the western and southern suburbs. Siobhan Johnson is a special agent with the FBI.
Every time we have an additional bank robbery, it makes it that much easier to say that these are likely linked.
The reward is for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the so-called bundled bandits who have hit at least 6 BMO Harris branches. Cubs over the Reds, 16-6 at Wrigley Field. Cubs are now just 3 games out of first place in the NL Central. White Sox hit hard and lost to the Rangers, 11-1, and they lose their closer for the remainder of this season and maybe the next season. Liam Hendriks has undergone Tommy John surgery. The news service of Woodland Windows and Doors. When you welcome a Woodland sales expert into your home, you'll get a no-pressure sale, product expert, design consultant, and someone who has your best interest in mind. Visit woodlandwindows.com to get started. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth MacDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The Bank of England raised interest rates today by 0.25%. The move was expected to fight inflation there, which has been slower to cool than in the U.S. ConocoPhillips earnings released this morning came in weaker than predicted. Qualcomm shares are down more than 8%. Its quarter was disappointing. The chip maker is seeing a slower recovery in China, and the company doesn't see an immediate rebound. Apple and Amazon report earnings after the Wall Street close. PayPal's quarter was mixed. That stock is also lower. Ordering from DoorDash wasn't just a pandemic fad. The company says its customers spent more on deliveries of food and household essentials in the recent quarter. DoorDash reported a smaller loss in the period. Though people are buying fewer things per order, they are ordering more frequently than ever before. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager sees tough times.
Liberals continue to vote as if everything is normal, and the Republicans are the enemy. No matter what the left does, liberals keep voting left. We're living through a very, very perilous time. Liberals are the problem because they are the ones who put the left in power.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Life isn't always fair. The truth is, fires, floods, tornadoes, hail, or just plain bad things happening to over 1 million homeowners annually. You could be one of them. You may not need Paul Davis Restoration Services today, but rest assured that now you've got a guy for full-service residential, commercial, emergency cleanup, and restoration for disasters of all sizes. Whether you face a business or residential catastrophe, Paul Davis Restoration is ready to help you from the instant the fire is out, the tornado has passed through, or the floodwaters have receded. My friend Gary Moss and his team at Paul Davis Restoration have 25,000 square foot warehouse within minutes of the Chicago Loop. And they can pack out, clean, restore your items, and return them to you in record time. Visit Paul Davis Restoration online at pauldavисchicago.com or call 773-883-8000. That's 773-883-8000 or online at pauldavисchicago.com.
120 Life, the natural juice drink that helps lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks or your money back. Here's another happy customer.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark from San Diego. I just wanted to give a little shout out to 120 Life and tell them how great I think the product is. I've been drinking it for almost 3 years, and it's really helped me with my blood pressure, my overall heart health, the amount of energy I have and feeling good. I haven't even caught a cold in over 3 years, all through COVID. It's been a great product. I'm going to continue to drink it, and I recommend it for everybody. Give it a shot, and I think you'll love it.
Lower your blood pressure naturally in just 2 weeks or your money back guaranteed. To order, visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Order the 2-week trial pack and use coupon code DAN to save 15%. The natural solution to high blood pressure. Visit 120life.com and use coupon code DAN at checkout to save 15%.
Don't let earache from swimmer's ear, clogged ears, or allergies ruin your day. Get fast, effective relief from the pain and itching with Hyland's Earache Drops, the #1 best-selling earache treatment for over 10 years. See why it's received thousands of 5-star reviews and was awarded Best Over-the-Counter Medicine and Health Product in Earache Relief by U.S. News and World Report. Find Hyland's Earache Drops in the eye and ear aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes. Heroes like Marine Corps Corporal Seth Rasmussen, who lost his life in an Osprey aircraft crash. Tunnel to Towers immediately stepped in to provide his wife and infant son with a mortgage-free home. Help the families of heroes like Seth get through the worst times in their lives. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
8:09, let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Elmhurst, an accident, Route 83 and North Avenue. There's a stalled semi on the northwest side of Chicago, blocking the intersection of Cicero and Foster. Accident reported West Chicago, Roosevelt Road and Washington. 8094 jams up eastbound between Burr and Grant. The Veterans Toll Road. Northbound, you're slow, 75th through Ogden. Jane Addams, accident, 2 right lanes blocked with stop-and-go traffic eastbound at Beverly Road. DuSable Lakeshore Drive this morning, especially heavy between Jackson on the northbound side and Monroe. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Sunshine, patchy clouds, a humid day, high today 89, partly cloudy tonight, low 71. Partly sunny, terrific day tomorrow, the high 85. Clouds and sun, thunderstorm and spots on Saturday, the high 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
70 at O'Hare, next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We got a new Dr. Fauci Rand Paul might as well add her to his criminal referral on Fauci just to save time. What's her name?
Yeah, Dr. Janine Marazzo. And Dan, she led the Division of Infectious Disease at the University of Alabama for 7 years. And she became a media fixture during the COVID pandemic. She appeared on local and national news outlets to explain in a calm, authoritative voice, they say, the latest developments with the virus. And she always had this mask dangling from her ear while she's speaking. Here's some highlights.
Please consider wearing a mask when you go out. You don't need to wear one when you're at home. Masks in young people going to school over the age of 6. All the things we've been talking about, mask wearing, hand hygiene, and social distancing. Masks have contributed to the control of this pandemic in other communities. Even mask wearing, except when you're eating, you can prevent it with very good masks. The 3 basic rules: wear a mask, make sure you wash your hands frequently or use hand sanitizer, and keep your distance.
Yeah, well, those are...
Sound familiar?
Those are past tense. By the way, you might as well add new CDC Director Mandy Cohen to the criminal referral as well, since they're all sharing a brain, as Mandy Cohen detailed, with how she would call other state public health directors, and they would decide the timing of when they were going to shut down, open up, institute a mandate. But of course, independently driven by the science and data, of course, men and women of science and data. So just add them all to the criminal referral to skip ahead. But those clips are past tense. Dr. Kavita Patel is present tense. She's real time. And she was Obama's former White House policy director. She had this to say this week.
Yeah, because school's starting soon, don't you know? And we should
I
all
would just
be
keep
afraid.
people on alert that when you're in those crowded spaces, think about the coughs and the colds. And sometimes many people don't even have any symptoms. A mask can be your best friend. Keep it back in time. We've had them in our pockets, in our coats, in our backpacks. Time to bring them out again, especially as the school season starts. We don't want to see kids missing school for things that we could have prevented.
Exactly. You know what
Does
else
she
we
not
should
read
bring
any
back?
studies about the inefficiency of masks?
Science and
whatever.
data. You know what we should also bring back? If
What?
we're going to go to the Wayback Machine and bring back some of the greatest hits from the last 3 years. Simon Godek is a PhD. He's got a PhD in biotech. He had a good Twitter thread on some of these things that we need to keep reminding ourselves, particularly as we hear from these public health functionaries like the two you just heard from. Remember when they separated cashiers and customers with large plexiglass screens, yet the cashier touched all the products the customer then took home?
Yeah, they're still up in a number of places, yes.
Remember-
I remember I had them put one up in between me and you.
Remember when they told us that eating while seated in a restaurant would be safe, but a simple walk to the restroom could potentially be lethal and thus required wearing a face diaper? Remember that?
I remember.
Let's bring it back. One more. Remember when you were considered a social menace if you walked in the opposite direction of the arrows on the floor in supermarkets? I still haven't completely understood the logic behind it. I wonder how many lives have been saved by the arrows on the floors of supermarkets, making sure everybody traveled in the same direction up and down the aisles. We could do this all day.
Well, also, too, I mean, there's something new to worry about, especially for you Floridians, you naughty people. The CDC, which I don't know if anybody even trusts them anymore, they put out a warning about leprosy.
Yeah,
It's on
I
the
saw
rise
that.
in
Central-
southern Florida.
Central Florida.
Yeah, they said Bradford County, Volusia County, someone that, quote, travel to this area, even in the absence of other risk factors, should prompt consideration of leprosy.
Yeah, okay. It's a real simple leprosy prevention in one step. Don't get bit by an armadillo. Okay, there you go. I've solved the leprosy problem in Central Florida. Dr. Joel Zinberg is at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, where he's a senior fellow. He's the director of public health and American well-being and the American Wellbeing Initiative at Paragon Health Institute. He joins us now. Dr. Zinberg, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Anything else you want to add to the leprosy thing, or did I pretty much cover it? I don't have a medical degree, so I just want to.
No, don't. I have nothing to add to the leprosy thing.
Okay, very good.
Well, they said it's transmitted
pretty
through
small
coughing.
outbreak. Pardon?
They said the CDC, which I don't believe anymore, said it's transmitted through coughing near a non-infected person.
After you've been bitten by an armadillo. So if you just deal with that first problem.
Well, I wouldn't. Let's leave the poor armadillos out of it.
Well, they can carry it, so you know.
All right, if we can, not create a national frenzy over leprosy. So you over at the Competitive Enterprise have a new paper that provides a blueprint for refocusing the CDC after COVID-19. I mean, as they sort of rearrange the deck chairs over at that Titanic, I mean, this is a nice white paper with some good ideas, but what's the possibility that anybody over there thinks that they need a refocusing?
Well, look, we said that even the CDC has acknowledged its multiple failures during COVID, but the problem is their diagnosis of what the problem was is way off. In looking back at the history of the CDC and examining what happened during the pandemic, we singled out the problem as mission creep, where the CDC has grown rapidly and haphazardly over the years, abetted by the fact that there's no congressional authorization for the agency, into this enormous agency with multiple diverse centers and institutes that they're separated from one another. They have very little to do with the core mission of the CDC, which is supposed to be to combat infectious diseases. In fact, only about 8% of the CDC's workforce is engaged in traditional efforts at identifying and controlling biologic threats. What they're involved in now are things like the public health consequences of the climate change, reducing racial disparities in healthcare, addressing social determinants of health, increases in injury and violence prevention programs and gun violence, none of which is really their expertise, their forte. And we think that distracted them during the pandemic. They were unprepared to deal with an infectious disease threat.
NIH, yeah, but I mean, they're all sort of in the same bucket. I mean, fine. So Collins and Fauci, they're collaborating. Walensky,
well, look, so right away,
what's the difference?
Right from the start of the pandemic, they were supposed to be collecting data and sharing it with state authorities. In February of 2020, they were supposed to have this system that would warn local health people about potential travelers who might pose a risk. That broke down in the middle of February, and they just told the states, "Well, wing it, let the people go. You don't need to control anyone." They impaired our ability to test right at the beginning of the pandemic. So for the whole month of February, we had no good testing in this country. They, as you pointed out, they had faulty science throughout. They couldn't communicate with people. All sorts of communication problems throughout the pandemic. So why is that? Well, it's because they were looking at all these other things. The CDC did its own report on its failures during the pandemic called Moving Forward, and they very proudly say that when Dr. Walensky came into office, one of the first things she did was to address social determinants of health and racial disparities. Like, we're in the middle of the biggest public health crisis in 100 years, and that's what you're focusing on?
Well, right.
That's what I mean by a lack of focus.
Yeah, but when they were focused on COVID, what were they doing in the early days? They weren't focused on what they were unprepared to deal with. They were focused on trying to shut up. This is Collins and Fauci per emails, trying to shut up people who were suggesting that the origination of the virus was from the lab rather than the wet market.
Yeah, no question that Fauci and Collins were doing that and trying to distract us. But Fauci and Collins were not at the CDC. The CDC had its primary mission is to protect us against infectious disease, and they were not doing that. Now, it didn't help that you had people like Fauci and Collins who were trying to hide things and changing their public pronouncements every other day. First, masks were not necessary, then they weren't necessary, then maybe they aren't, maybe they are, stuff like that. That didn't help, but the CDC is supposed to be the authoritative voice, and they just weren't there.
Well, right.
Do you think we need them,
wait a second. Where was Redfield, too? I mean, I want to name names. I don't like, we need to go back and make sure that specific names and specific positions are held to account. So, I mean, you say, yeah, Fauci and Collins are NIH, but Redfield was at CDC, then Walensky was at CDC, and all of these people need to be held to account. I know Redfield now, in congressional testimony after the fact, is sort of separated himself from what Collins and Fauci were doing, but that doesn't absolve him from what he did or didn't do during the 3 years he was there.
Right. Well, look, there was an awful lot of internal fighting and politicking going on, and Redfield's explanation, and I'm not saying it's true or not, is that he was sidelined by these folks. But Walensky was not sidelined, and Walensky, I think, made lots of pronouncements that were of dubious, truth during the. The CDC was failing in its goal. It's supposed to be a scientific agency, but when messages conflicted with what the political message was that that the administration was pushing, they were allowing really crappy science to be published under the name of CDC. Basically glorified case reports were being presented as if these were definitive trials and that we ought to rely on them. Meanwhile, they weren't commissioning the studies. They should have been commissioning studies right from the start about who's at risk, what can we do to stop it. But instead, the U.S. ended up relying on a lot of research from overseas. It's no surprise that the Israeli studies were much more relied upon than anything in the U.S. because the CDC wasn't doing the studies it should have been doing, and instead it was relying on studies that reinforced the administration's point of view and the type of message that Collins and Fauci were trying to push.
But also, too, they became so politicized. I mean, you had Michelle Walensky out there saying it's safe to reopen schools, and then bam, less than 24 hours, Randy Weingarten, head of Teachers Union, got to her and said, no, we're not going back. And she changed her tune. I mean, is anybody going to be charged criminally with this?
Look, I don't think, particularly not with this Justice Department. I think we already know they are engaged in some very selective prosecutions. I don't know that there's criminal thing, but it's certainly from the perspective of public health that you would rely on the head of the teachers union, whose members didn't seem to have the well-being of their kids in mind. I mean, the CDC has to be a scientific voice, but they're not, at the end of the day, they are not the decision maker. The decision makers have to be able to balance the costs and benefits of any policy. And some of even if the CDC's advice had been 100% spot on scientifically, you then have to look at what are the economic side effects, what are the social side effects, what are the effects on kids about keeping them out of school for 2 years. No one was there doing that, and that was missing. Now, it didn't help that the CDC, though, was distracted and was providing crappy scientific advice.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, that's a pretty good summation. Dr. Joel Zinberg, Competitive Enterprise Institute Senior Fellow, Director of Public Health and American Wellbeing Initiative at Paragon Health Institute as well. Dr. Zinberg, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson, and I'm proud to tell you about the great work of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, a new partner of ours here at AM 560. Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. When a first responder or military service member doesn't come home and young children are left behind, Tunnel to Towers pays the mortgage on the family home to lift the financial burden and bring stability. For catastrophically injured veterans and first responders, Tunnel to Towers builds mortgage-free smart homes, giving our most severely injured heroes the ability to live more independent lives. You can help America's heroes and their families by supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation when you make a small donation of just $11 a month. Go to T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. T2T.org.
Are you a business owner with a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth, but you just need the right bank? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that Signature Bank is all about going the distance for commercial banking customers. It's what Signature Bank does every day. Their team understands that accessibility is key to their culture. In times like these, you want a bank that is there for you to weather the bad times and capitalize on the good. And with Signature Bank by your side, you can't go wrong. It's a true partnership. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right, I'm a customer. I believe in what they have to offer, from innovative tech and customized solutions to help your business grow and thrive. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
If you're noticing new cracks in your walls or brickwork, sinking ground or concrete, sagging floors, gaps under the baseboards, sticking doors and windows, well, it's time to call Permaseal Basement Systems. All too often, homeowners ignore these signs and then experience even bigger problems later on, which in turn costs way more to fix. Call Permaseal today, 800-421-7325. You can rely on an honest, accurate, and free evaluation from Permaseal's trained experts. Guess what? 41 years in the business. They have been Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana's most trusted contractor for basement and foundation repairs. They've earned an A-plus rating from the BBB and have a 4.9-star Google rating. For a free, thorough inspection, call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325. Or visit permaseal.net.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh yeah, this is a superior product.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. This week only, we're extending our special travel offer. Right now, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Divorce forces a father to focus on what's most important, his children. You may no longer be a husband, but you'll always be a dad. In the divorce process, this comes down to 3 key concerns: physical custody, decision-making, as well as financial support. Each of these is important, and it's important that you choose a lawyer that cares as much about these issues as you do.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Springfield area attorneys. 2815 Old Jacksonville Road, Suite 103, Springfield, Illinois, 62704. CordellCordell.com.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
Leprosy. Bits keep falling off all over me.
Dan, do you remember this parody song about leprosy?
Since I contracted leprosy.
Yeah. It's not funny. It's not funny when, afflicting Central Florida.
Yeah, beware. Put on a mask.
Stay away from armadillos. 6 feet. 6 feet away from armadillos at all times.
Don't even look at them. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll get David Harsanyi, editor at The Federalist, his take on what Devon Archer had to say in his sit-down with Tucker Carlson, 8:38.
But now let's head straight into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, 632, 69 degrees going up right now, and 13 people have been badly hurt in South Korea. A man rammed a car up onto a sidewalk, then stepped out of that vehicle and began stabbing people at a subway station. Police say at least 9 people were stabbed, 4 others injured by the vehicle, and they're still looking for victims. There may be heavy traffic in Washington, D.C. today, especially this afternoon, as President Trump is set to make a court appearance.
The Secret Service released a statement saying it is working with city police and federal officers to ensure the highest levels of safety and security while minimizing disruptions to the normal court process. Trump is scheduled to appear at the courthouse at 4 p.m. Eastern. This week, Trump was indicted for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A man convicted of killing 11 Jews at a Pittsburgh synagogue has been sentenced to death. Family member of a victim, Diane Rosenthal, says the verdict will not heal the loss, but the family is grateful.
We are overwhelmingly grateful for the verdict shared today, but unfortunately, neither verdict would have brought the boys back. The Rosenthal family would like to thank the jury for their thoughtful and careful deliberation.
Robert Bowers was convicted in June on more than 60 charges in the 2018 shooting. The makers of weight loss drugs Ozempic and Mounjaro are being sued for allegedly failing to warn patients about the risk of severe gastrointestinal problems. A Louisiana woman has filed suit. Here in Chicago, a woman is dead. Her 2-year-old son, as well as 2 others, are wounded following a shooting on Chicago's far south side. It happened in the 1200 block of West 81st yesterday. Illinois is making full-day kindergarten mandatory in the state, but not until the 2027-2028 school year. And thousands of Illinois residents are without Medicaid health insurance beginning this month after a post-COVID reset. Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services says more than 147,000 residents will be taken off Medicaid since the beginning of August. And the roller coaster capital of the world, that would be Ohio's Cedar Point, has announced a record-breaking roller coaster with speeds up to 128 miles an hour. Experts say Top Thrill 2 will be the boldest, most advanced roller coaster Cedar Point has ever introduced, and the tallest and the fastest in the world. Top Thrill 2 debuts next year, replacing Top Thrill Dragster, which closed in 2021. Cubs overcome an early 3-run deficit to rout the Reds 16-6 at Wrigley. Cubs will be without one of their top-end starters for the next couple of weeks. Marcus Stroman is on the 15-day injured list with a hip injury. The White Sox lose their closer for the remainder of this season and likely all of next. Liam Hendriks underwent Tommy John surgery on Wednesday. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news. MyPillow employees want to thank you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. Regular price, $69.98. Queen size MyPillows now only $19.98 with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees more insanity in Washington.
The Department of Justice trying to arrest Devon Archer before he has a chance to testify against Joe Biden today? This is over the top. And that's why Trump continues to soar in the polls. We are witnessing levels of insanity that are just hard to comprehend.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The best way to protect yourself from inflation, hyperinflation, or a recession is to trade the doomed currency into a hard asset before it happens. Why precious metals? Gold and silver have been the store of value for thousands of years. Why not ETFs or just buy it on paper? The whole sales pitch for owning gold and silver is to have it in your own control, not in some bank vault hundreds of miles away or the cloud. Can't you just buy from anyone? Most people like the anonymity of paying cash and walking out the door with the product. You can't do that through the mail. If you are buying or selling gold, silver, or platinum, it's basically cash and carry.
Fox Valley Coins. Our products are as good as, well, you get the idea. Don't buy and sell through the mail. Deal with a real store. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville for an investment with a real silver lining. Check out foxvalleycoins.com.
Are you choosing foods that just keep you going through the day? Or are you choosing foods that keep you going with an abundance of energy?
I did notice a boost in energy. My wife noticed it. I noticed it as I'm driving. Balance of Nature has definitely helped me out.
I discovered Balance of Nature. I noticed energy level much improved, and I could go longer and didn't feel the fatigue.
I've been taking Balance of Nature, and it's definitely given me an energy boost so that I can keep up with the grandkids.
When I tried Balance of Nature, I felt like I had more energy right away. I feel great.
Since I've been taking Balance of Nature, I've been able to relieve myself of this slump and get on with my day. I want to keep living my life with energy, and Balance of Nature helps me do that.
Get consistent, real nutrition in your body and experience the difference for yourself. You asked and we listened. Go to balanceofnature.com, and this week only, we're extending our special travel offer. Right now, get $25 off and a free travel set. Use discount code Chicago.
You've decided to remodel your kitchen or bathroom. Okay, the search is on. Who can you trust to give you a great remodel at a fair price?
I asked that you would give us a chance to work with you to have a quality, stress-free kitchen or bath remodel. This is Javen Aldana. My company is Aldana & Son. That's right, we're a family business and we share the same values as you. I am deeply involved in every aspect of your remodel. Realtors love our company too. They know we can get it done as soon as possible and make it fabulous. A happy customer is the only way we do business. You want referrals and reviews? No problem. We stand by our work. We take it personally. Kitchen or bathroom remodels, small or large, we have you covered. Go to remodelingforme.com. That's remodelingforme.com. Aldana & Son. Just under 25 years of happy customers. Let's make you the next one. Go to remodelingforme.com. That's remodelingforme.com.
8:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Audible. Boost your imagination with Audible. Listen to the biggest selection of audio entertainment. Memoirs, motivation, more, audiobooks, podcasts, originals. It's more to imagine when we listen. Sign up for a free trial at audible.com. Let's start on the inbound side of the Kennedy, where it's 90 minutes O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound right now sits at about 35 minutes to the big airport. It's an hour and 5 on the inbound Ike from 390 to the old post office. Stevenson, it's an hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Jane Addams, they've upped it to 3 right lanes blocked now. Eastbound just west of Route 59 with a bad accident. You've got solid traffic all the way from the Elgin Toll Plaza. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A humid day ahead. We'll have sunshine and patchy clouds and a high of 89. Your next news update is at 9, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn. It's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. When I heard that Tucker Carlson got a sit-down with Devon Archer, I didn't expect those two to have the rollicking good time they had talking about Devon's relationship with Hunter Biden and Biden Incorporated.
Yeah, they enjoyed themselves. They seemed comfortable with each other.
Devon Archer explained how they came together to work together on this private equity venture called Rosemont Seneca, and what exactly Hunter Biden's role was and all that.
The initial idea around the business, they were going to provide, the government insight and an additional network to raise capital and then, deal with regulatory issues that you might have at the corporate level.
Right. Regulatory issues.
Exactly.
Okay, so that would be more his area.
Right, that would be his space.
Right. But did he have a sophisticated understanding of regulation, do you think?
I think that he led a team that had a sophisticated...
Okay, because I lived in Washington a long time, around a lot of regulation. Also, a very complex area.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you got to be an expert in knowing the guy, and he was the guy that was the expert in knowing the guy.
He was an expert in knowing the guy.
Right.
And who was the guy he knew?
Well, he knew a lot of people, but obviously there was some familiar, his brother, his father, some of his father's siblings. So he knew a lot of people.
That Devon Archer is a real cut up. I got to tell you, that wasn't the end of his.
and Schomburg.
Yeah, it was not the end of his comedy routine. The two of them. I mean, it was a regular vaudeville act. Then they turned their attention to what Tucker did. Their next bit was the big guy's speakerphone calls. Hilarious.
I mean, over a 10-year partnership, I would, the number I'm going with is 20. That's probably the amount that I kind of record. Yeah, a lot, you could say.
So Joe Biden, who's very much a product of Washington, of course must have known that he was calling in to effectively a business meeting that his son was having. I mean, he must have understood that was kind of what his son was selling.
Well, it's hard for me to speculate on that.
But I guess my question, just to keep it to the facts, Joe Biden, then the sitting vice president, knew that there were Hunter's business associates in the room.
Yeah, I think I could definitively say at particular dinners or meetings, he knew there were business associates, and or if I was there, I was a business associate too. So I think, or if any of the other colleagues from the DC office or the New York office were there. So yeah, at times there were. From the to be completely clear on the calls. I don't know if it was an orchestrated call in or not. It certainly was powerful, though, because if you're sitting with a foreign business person and you hear the vice president's voice, that's prize enough. I mean, that's pretty impactful stuff for anyone.
And that bit kept going. I mean, it went on longer than Jim Gaffigan's Hot Pockets bit. Just as funny, too.
It's been reported, and I know that it is true, that Hunter and his brother were very close to their dad.
Absolutely.
Which I think is great.
Yep.
I've got a lot of kids. I'm very close to them, talk to them every day.
Yeah.
Never called them on speaker during a business meeting. That's weird. You've got a lot of kids. You're close to them. Do you call them on speaker during business meetings?
Do I call?
I mean, what is that? A grown man calling his dad on a speakerphone during a business meeting?
Right. And to be clear, sometimes it was the call was coming in and the speaker would go on. So it's just the president. You have to be, I mean, you understand DC, right? So the power to have that access and that conversation, and it's not in a scheduled conference call, and it's a part of your family. That's like the pinnacle of power in DC.
100%. I guess I'm pivoting against the lie that I'm hearing people tell with a straight face. Congressman Goldman, for example, that we don't really know what was going on. Really? You're taking a call from the vice president and you put it on speaker. It's not just, hey, Dad, I'm in a meeting with some buddies.
Right.
It's let me put my dad, the vice president, on speaker.
Yeah. Yep. In the rear view, it's an abuse of soft power, I'd say.
An abuse of soft power.
Great phrase. For more on this hilarity, we're pleased to be joined by David Harsanyi, senior editor at The Federalist, author of Eurotrash, Why America Must Reject the Failed Ideas of a Dying Continent. David, thanks for joining us. I mean, it was one uh, laugh after another in this discussion between Tucker and Devin Archer.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just another person unconnected from the other people who have made this claim that Joe Biden was clearly having conversations or with people who are involved in a business while he was vice president, knowing very well, either being used to create the perception that he was part of that business or actually participating in a more concrete way. And that, in my view, is corruption.
Yeah, it also seems to me, you try to understand the nature of these people coming together, and then you assess the credibility of Devin Archer, who's a convicted felon. I'm sure Team Biden will be bringing that up in short order to, suggest that he can't be taken at face value. But how they came together, and it strikes me that Devin Archer, who actually has a business background, just saw this as an opportunity, this relationship as an opportunity to have that sort of access that he described. He mentioned in the interview a couple times Icarus, and that sort of both he and Hunter flew a little too close to the sun. They thought this was going to be great, and then it generated a little too much scrutiny and a little too much heat, and it all broke apart. But it doesn't seem like he has any particular use for the Biden family other than this business venture that he thought was going to work out, which is why he's so accessible. I mean, if you did, why would you sit down with Tucker Carlson?
Right, and the fact that there are a bunch of really shady criminal people around Hunter Biden is not exactly a check mark for him, right? I mean, he was obviously involved in stuff and people that were not above board. But moreover, I keep going back to this. I just think that we talk about Hunter Biden, and it's incredibly important to talk about him. But the fact is, this is really a Joe Biden story, right?
Course,
I mean,
right.
it's and the Joe Biden part of this story, he has yet to answer why he made these calls. He's yet to answer if he knew about them. I mean, he lied about it previously, but since then, he just hasn't spoken about it. It's a complete blackout over this stuff. I mean, a whistleblower at the IRS has nothing to do with Devon Archer, right? I mean, and they both make the same claim about the president of the United States. It seems to be a massive story.
Well, do you think that this is going to bring down President Biden? And at least, at the very least, bring down his campaign? I mean, this is pretty damning information.
I sometimes feel like we're scandal-proofed as a society, honestly. Like, there's almost nothing that you can say to a Trump fan, for instance, or a Biden fan that's going to change their mind, whether it's true or not true. So I think there's sort of baked in 40% of people who are partisans, and they don't really care. I mean, I honestly think that a lot of Democrats know that Biden did this, and they just don't really care about it, so they're playing defense. So my answer to you is I don't know, Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, David, as the New York Times reported just the other day, it has long been known that Joe Biden spoke with Hunter Biden's business associates. This is sawing sawdust. You're trying to manufacture something that doesn't exist, and that's what they're going with.
It's like going back into stories and putting 7 grandchildren instead of 6 grandchildren into the stories, like Orwellian rewriting of history.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, for me, because I've been in journalism a long time, it is just incredible that you have a whole entire industry, basically, or almost all of it, playing defense for a president involved in a scandal. Listen, you can go after Trump and Biden at the same time. There are plenty of people in newsrooms who can do that. You don't have to do what you're doing, and yet, it's what's happening.
I want to get your take on DeSantis's campaign, because we talked to Ken Cuccinelli a little bit earlier in the show, and we didn't get as deep in the campaign as I wanted to. But here's a question that I have, and I'm a big DeSantis fan. I'm unimpressed with his campaign so far. And I got to say, one thing just strikes me as odd from a campaign perspective. He has this record of success in Florida. And he cruised to re-election, which he tells everybody about all the time, and that's certainly part of his messaging. That makes sense. and yet there are no surrogates for his campaign. And maybe like Cuccinelli, maybe some wealthy dude who used to be a Trump voter, a Trump donor, and now he's a DeSantis donor. But the whole point is you had the success in Florida across these range of issues. So why don't we hear from like regular people on behalf of DeSantis whose policy choices made a positive impact on their lives? It seems like it's very solitary rather than broad-based as you would think it would be with a record of success that he keeps referencing but doesn't put faces to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think his campaign initially started out, as the kids say, too online. You know what I mean? Too many people focused on convincing unconvincible people or getting into ridiculous arguments on Twitter and social media and things like that, rather than somehow getting out there. Though I have to say, he's in a tough spot because he's basically overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so Vivek Ramaswamy comes out of left field. He's obviously a successful biotech entrepreneur, and he wrote that book Woke Inc. and so forth. But I mean, really, you had to read the Wall Street Journal pretty religiously to have any idea who Vivek Ramaswamy was before he entered this race. And he's generating a lot of interest. You would think DeSantis coming in with all the fanfare and the record would be generating a lot of interest, but he's just not. And they're sort of in denial that he isn't, even as they cut staff, and there's all sorts of rumors that are very unhelpful to the campaign, and they're making arguments that just are not supported by the data. You know, I can win and Trump can't. Well, the New York Times Siena comes out 44-44, and in the early states, it's sort of the same thing. I mean, there's no
doubt, in Florida, but it's tough to get out there. I will also say this, though, just throw this out there. Most normal people are not thinking about primary politics right now. It's far off for them. I'm not sure that the polling is always, very completely accurate to what's going on. Like Vivek Ramaswamy, he, I guess, like 5-6% sometimes. I'm pretty skeptical that 5 or 6% of Republican voters in the country know who he is or anything really about him. I think they're just searching for
people you're waiting for to tune in actually tuned in. So you can be gone before it gets to that point. Kamala Harris was too, for that matter, on the other side.
And people have gotten so dogmatic, and I don't even know if this is bad or good, frankly, but, all the attention paid to Trump and everything, all these sort of indictments and everything, it creates this, I think, environment where people rally around the person they feel is being attacked, and that has something to do with Trump's sort of popularity as well.
His ratings go up every time he gets indicted.
Yeah.
One more indictment. He's the president,
yeah. One more to go. I mean, talk about living in an alternate dimension. Rooting for indictments. David Harsanyi, senior editor at The Federalist, author of Eurotrash, Why America Must Reject the Failed Ideas of a Dying Continent. Thanks for joining us, David.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Let's face it, talking about life insurance is never easy. But after we watched a close friend lose her husband with no insurance, we decided that wasn't going to happen to our family.
Yeah, but shopping for life insurance can be almost as difficult as talking about it.
But then we heard about Ethos Life Insurance. They're a new kind of life insurance, built for people on a busy schedule who don't have time for unnecessary doctor's visits, fine print, or hidden fees. Who want to keep it...
Go to ethoslife.com now for your free estimate. That's ETHOSlife.com. EthosLife.com.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Freedom Square is an unbelievable service designed to unite freedom-loving Americans. I know these guys. They love their country and they're doing an amazing job. You can log on now to create your free personalized dashboard. All of your favorite news sites, podcasters, all on one site, all at your fingertips. Sign up your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with freedom-loving Americans. Look, people want businesses they can support. You want to know the good guys from the bad guys. That's freedomsquare.com. Log on right now and create your personalized dashboard. Join us in the fight, so check it out. freedomsquare.com. Freedom lives here.
Let's welcome our new Freedom Square Business Network members. Marquardt Buick GMC Barrington, Law Office of Stephen Leahy, McCann Insurance Services, and Builder Supply Outlet. It's time to unite and vote with your dollars. Download the Freedom Square app and register your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with patriots. Freedom Square. Freedom lives here.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Amanda Zanger, owner of Black Industrial and Safety Supply in Hammond, Indiana, and a business customer of Signature Bank. Prior to owning my own business, I worked for a major financial institution. So when it came time to finance the acquisition of Black, I approached a big bank, only to receive a solid no. That's when Signature Bank stepped in. With Signature Bank, the process was different. Signature provided creative financing options that enabled me to purchase Black and continue to grow the business. Thanks to Signature Bank, Black Industrial is able to continue serving Fortune 500 industry fabricators and contractors with tools and safety supplies as we have since 1893.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan, do we have you worried about leprosy?
No, not really. But I am on the lookout. I will be on the lookout for armadillos when I'm back in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, don't get bit. All right, thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical director, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer, back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now let's check on headlines from here at home and around the world. Here's the one and only Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
A woman is killed, a 2-year-old son, 2 others wounded in a South Side shooting. Mayor Brandon Johnson weighs in on the South Side teen mob action.